Chapter 30-26. The Fiend Master was way too mysterious and had too many mysteries about him. However, Wu Dao's true body was certain of one thing. The Fiend Master, or rather, the faction behind him, had been fighting against the heavenly courts for several eras. Now that the Fiend Master chose to appear and shroud him and Dai Yu in this world without any enmity towards them, it was most likely that he was trying to rope them in. Since that was the case, the Fiend Master would definitely show enough sincerity to answer the doubts in Wu Dao's true body's heart. The Fiend Master, buried heaven, the evil emperor, the six paths, the ghost mother, the heavenly courts, the ancient emperors. There were way too many mysteries. What do you want to know? The Tomb Keeper seemed to have seen through Wu Dao's true body's thoughts and took the initiative to ask. After pondering for a moment, Wu Dao's true body said slowly, "Everything about the heavenly courts." The heavenly courts were the core of all the mysteries and catastrophes since ancient times. An imperceptible look of admiration flashed in the depths of the Tomb Keeper's eyes as he said faintly, "The heavenly courts were formed from the 9 major factions of the Great Thousand World. The 9 heavens as the courts that enslave all living beings. The heavenly courts are the 9 heavens. 9 heavens." As though he had thought of something, Wu Dao's true body waved his sleeves and scattered many badges of the heavenly courts on the ground with different words. Yen, Song, Hao, Xian. Wu Dao's true body asked. "Behind these badges are actually 4 of the 9 heavens?" "That's right." The Tomb Keeper nodded. "In the middle is June heaven, in the east is Song heaven, in the northeast is Min heaven, in the north is Xian heaven, in the northwest is Yu heaven, in the west is Hao heaven, in the southwest is Zhu heaven, in the south is Yen heaven and in the southeast is Yang heaven. Those are the 9 heavens." Dai Yu was enlightened. The Tsong behind the Emperor Green Flame was actually Tsong heaven of the 9 heavens. The 9 heavens as the courts that enslave all living beings. Wu Dao's true body murmured softly. In the eyes of the experts like the Emperor Green Flame, they truly did not take the living beings of the middle world seriously. This was a kind of contempt that ran deep in his bones. The Tomb Keeper said, "At this stage of your cultivation, you should have already guessed that the living beings of all races can ascend to the Great Thousand World after reaching the Emperor realm. However, due to the existence of the 9 heavens, the middle world was separated from the greater world, blocking the path of ascension for all living beings. This caused the middle world to have no ascenders for countless years. This is the reason why we've joined the emperors of the ancient emperors of the Great Thousand Heavens. In the Great Wasteland domain, the martial Dao body had once discussed the Dao with Dai Yu and had indeed speculated in this regard. And many heavens worlds of course it heavenly courts a heavenly courts. But in a dimensional realm, there was no such treasure. In other words, according to the rules of heaven and earth, once a living being stepped into the emperor stage, they should head to an environment with Genesis Chi and Origin stones to cultivate. The heavens is the heavens. Why? The martial Dao true body was silent for a long time before asking in a deep voice. With the 9 heavens as their court and enslaving all living beings, what benefits does it bring them? Why does the 9 heavens want to stop the ascension of the living beings of all races? The Tomb Keeper said, "In the 3,000 worlds, all the cultivation resources, heavenly court's spiritual chi, heavenly court's origin chi, can be called the energy of the universe. However, in the universe, this kind of energy isn't endless and inexhaustible. The lifespan of mortals is only 100 years. After death, their souls return to heaven and earth, their flesh and blood dissipate, and all the energy returns to nature. Some are absorbed and some are released, and it does not destroy the balance between heaven and earth. And the existence of cultivators breaks this balance." Wu Dao seemed to understand something and murmured, "So when the living beings of all races step into a certain realm on the path of cultivation and break free from the shackles of heaven and earth, they will always attract a heavenly tribulation. The stronger the person transcending the tribulation, the stronger the heavenly tribulation. It is because the heavenly Dao wants to destroy the person transcending the tribulation and let the power in his body return to heaven and earth to restore the balance. But heaven and earth are heartless and will still leave a trace of life for the person transcending the tribulation." The Tomb Keeper nodded and continued. "The living beings of all races cultivate and reproduce. Whether it is the immortal Dao or the demon Dao, they have to constantly absorb the spiritual chi, heavenly court's origin chi, and heavenly court's origin chi to snatch cultivation resources. The higher the cultivation, the longer the lifespan, and the more energy they can absorb. The longer the lifespan, the more it means that they are constantly absorbing and not releasing. In this way, the cultivation resources of heaven and earth will gradually dry up, and it is the same in the Great Thousand Worlds." Hearing this, Wu Dao's true body understood. The 9 heavens as the to stop the ascension of the living beings of the middle world was the greatest benefit to them, and it was that they could monopolize the cultivation resources of the great 1,000 worlds. Therefore, the ancient emperors of the ancient era wanted to conquer the 9 heavens, crush the heavenly courts, and kill a way to ascend to the great 1,000 worlds. Since you are the enemy of the heavenly courts, why did you save Emperor Qing Yan and the other two? Wu Dao's true body frowned and asked. The tomb keeper sized up Wu Dao's true body, as if trying to see through his cultivation. After a long while, he shook his head and said, "Given your current battle strength, you shouldn't have much chance of winning against the emperors of the 9 heavens. It's fine if you killed some constellation emperors, but those young masters of the sacred beast bloodline all have Dao imprints left behind by the emperors. Once you kill any one of them, you will alert the emperors behind them." Wu Dao's true body did not refute. His Yuan Wu Grotto heaven had not cultivated into a world. In terms of battle strength, he could defeat all the experts below the emperors. But against a true emperor, he did not have much confidence. "That's strange." Dai Yu suddenly asked. "Emperor Yen Luo should be the young master of the 9 heavens. When she died, why didn't you appear to stop her?" "Her? Hee hee." The tomb keeper suddenly laughed and said, "Even if I killed her, the Emperor Yen Luo would not be able to sense it and would not help her take revenge." Wu Dao's true body and Dai Yu revealed a trace of doubt as they waited for the tomb keeper's explanation. Suddenly, the tomb keeper changed the topic and looked at Wu Dao's true body. "You've been to the Avicii hell. You should have encountered something, right?" Wu Dao's true body recalled for a moment before nodding and saying, "In the process, there seemed to be 2 consciousnesses trapped inside." The tomb keeper said, "You should be able to guess that one of the consciousnesses is the Lord of Hell." Wu Dao's true body nodded. Be it the middle world or hell, there were rumors that the Lord of Hell was suppressed by the Emperor of Infinity back then. As a result, Hell was shattered, causing the world to be incomplete and the great Tao to be incomplete. After the tomb keeper said this, he suddenly shut his mouth and did not say anything else. Wu Dao's true body was about to ask when a thought flashed through his mind. He could not help but be shocked when he thought of a possibility. Wu Dao's true body said slowly, "You mean to say that the other consciousness in the Avicii hell is the Emperor Yen Luo of the 9 heavens?" Chapter 30-27. The tomb keeper nodded. Wu Dao's true body and Dai Yu exchanged glances. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Back then, the Empyrean Emperor used his flesh and blood to transform into the Avicii hell. Together with the hell-suppressing cauldron, he actually suppressed 2 emperors for an era until this era. One of them came from the heavenly court and the other from hell. However, at the same time, an even greater doubt surged in their hearts. Since the Empyrean Emperor was so strong and could suppress 2 emperors, why didn't he kill them completely? It was understandable that he conquered the 9 heavens and suppressed the Flame Heaven Emperor. But why did he suppress the Lord of Hell at the same time? What happened back then? According to the Fiend Master, he had been working together with the emperors of old to fight against the heavenly court for several eras. Now that the heavenly court still existed, it meant that the heaven-defying war back then had all failed. Every emperor of old who conquered the 9 heavens did not have a good ending and died in defeat. How could the Fiend Master live until this era? Just how powerful was the heavenly court? Wu Dao's true body said, "If I'm not wrong, the Lord of Hell should be on your side." "Yes." The tomb keeper nodded. Wu Dao's true body continued, "If that's the case, why did the Empyrean Emperor suppress the Emperor of the heavenly court and the Lord of Hell? The 9 heavens as the court, enslaving all living beings." Wu Dao's true body believed that the Empyrean Emperor would definitely choose to conquer the 9 heavens and destroy the heavenly court if he knew the goal of the 9 heavens. That was because the heavenly court should not exist. That monk. At the mention of the Empyrean Emperor, the tomb keeper suddenly paused and revealed a look of reminiscence. After a while, he revealed a complicated smile. It was hard for Wu Dao's true body to say what emotions were mixed in that smile. However, he could vaguely sense that the tomb keeper might have a trace of admiration for the Empyrean Emperor. The tomb keeper said slowly, "He's a conflicted person. After knowing the origin and goal of the heavenly court, he decided to join forces with us to conquer the 9 heavens and break the rule of the 9 heavens over the living beings of the middle worlds. The 9 heavens are independent but also interconnected, forming a 9 heavens formation. Unless we break the formation, there's no way to kill our way into the 9 heavens." Hearing this, Wu Dao's main body suddenly understood. If the Devil Master and the Evil Emperor wanted to conquer the 9 heavens, the first step would be to descend upon the middle world. And in order to prevent the Devil Masters and the rest from attacking the 9 heavens' great array, the heavenly court would definitely lead an army to descend. Wu Dao said, in other words, once this war breaks out, the middle world will become the battlefield of the heavenly court and the underworld. Not bad. The Tomb Keeper nodded. It was precisely because of this that the 3,000 worlds were swept into the war, and the living beings of the myriad races were unable to escape. It was because the 3,000 worlds was the center of the battle, the final battlefield. The so-called calamity that swept through the 3,000 realms was because of this battle. Actually, it's because of the 9 heavens' great array that the heaven-earth yuan qi in the 3,000 worlds is so thin. The Tomb Keeper said, the Genesis Qi of the Great Thousand World sinks and passes through the barrier between the Great Thousand World and the Middle Thousand World. Much of the energy is absorbed by the barrier, and what settles down is the origin Qi of heaven and earth. And most of the rich and pure heaven-earth yuan qi is sealed by the 9 heavens' great array and controlled by the living beings of the heavenly court. If not for this, the cultivation of the living beings of the myriad races here wouldn't be so difficult, and their cultivation speed would be much faster. Hearing this, Wu Dao's main body couldn't help but recall the time when Qinglian's main body had just ascended to the middle world and descended upon the Dragon Abyss planet. The heaven-earth yuan qi on the Dragon Abyss planet was thin. It was the same for most of the regions in the vast starry sky. Only some powerful realms relied on all kinds of natural treasures, immortal herbs, and trees to gather as much heaven-earth yuan qi as possible. Every war of the heavens is extremely tragic, the Tomb Keeper said. For several eras, the heavenly court has set up the heaven realm in the middle world to monitor and patrol the 3,000 worlds, and established the 9 sinful grounds to intimidate the living beings of the myriad races. Even if some realms and races know of the evil of the heavenly court, they don't dare to resist. Some choose to be neutral, some follow us to conquer the 9 heavens, but most of them will stand on the side of the heavenly court. Wu Dao's main body had a deep understanding of this point. For several eras, countless races and realms had chosen to conquer the 9 heavens back then. After their defeat, they were annihilated in the long river of time, and their bloodlines were cut off. After the Dark Emperor was defeated, the entire dark world completely disappeared. Under such circumstances, how many realms dared to resist the heavenly court? Moreover, there was the years of intimidation and subtle influence of the heaven realm. Every time the War of the Heavens ended, the Devil Master side would be defeated, and the heavenly court would win. The truth of the War of the Heavens would be buried and erased. As time passed, in the hearts of the myriad races, the evil demons were the main culprits behind the catastrophe. Killing the evil demons was a matter of course. The heaven realm even set up the evil demon battlefield, encouraging the geniuses of the myriad races to enter and kill the evil demons in exchange for treasures. Sword cultivators like the 8 peak masters of the sword world were righteous and straightforward, but when they heard about the evil demons and sinful spirits, they would still be filled with killing intent. Even the Iron Crown Elder of the sword world, who knew that the sword cultivators of the 9 great sins were not evil, did not dare to tell the people of the sword world about this matter. In the current 3,000 realms, other than a few imperial emperor powerhouses, no one knew about the existence of the heavenly court. Even he and Dai Yu had just found out that the heavenly court not only blocked the path of ascension for the myriad races, but also sealed off a large amount of heaven-earth essence qi. The Tomb Keeper continued, most realms stood on the side of the heavenly court. Under the instigation of the heaven realm, they would definitely fight with us. In the era of the Avicii, the Lord of Hell's Hell army was blinded by bloodlust. The flames of war burned some neutral realms and races, causing the deaths of countless innocent beings. At this point, the Tomb Keeper paused for a moment before continuing. Avicii took action. The Tomb Keeper did not say much about this battle, only a few words. However, Wu Dao's main body could still imagine the grief and indignation of the Avicii Emperor as he watched countless innocent beings struggle in the flames of war, running, crying for help and dying. When the Avicii took action to suppress the Lord of Hell, those from the heavenly court were rather surprised and excited. They thought that the Avicii Emperor had suddenly switched sides and joined their side. The Tomb Keeper continued, but soon after, the Avicii Emperor took action again, severely injuring Yen Tian. He killed the 4 imperial emperor powerhouses of the firmament, Yen Tian, White Tian, and Black Tian Tian, taking their bloodlines and souls to refine the hell-suppressing cauldron. After that, he refined himself, using his flesh and blood to transform into the Avicii Hell, suppressing the Lord of Hell and Yen Tian within. The hell-suppressing cauldron descended, completely sealing the Lord of Hell and Yen Tian. Until today. From the beginning to the end, Dai Yu had been quietly listening to the Tomb Keeper's recount of the past, not saying a word. Only now did she suddenly speak. The Avicii Emperor was not a conflicted person. The Tomb Keeper raised his eyebrows slightly. Dai Yu said, "The Avicii Emperor took action to suppress the Lord of Hell because he could not bear to see so many innocent beings being implicated in the flames of war. He took action to suppress Yen Tian Emperor because he wanted to break through the 9 heavens and fight for a chance for the myriad races of the middle 1,000 realms to ascend. The Avicii Emperor took action twice because of the mercy in his heart." Chapter 30:28. The Tomb Keeper smiled disapprovingly and did not argue with Dai Yu. In his opinion, conquering the 9 heavens meant that countless lives would be sacrificed. All living beings were enslaved by the heavenly court. Who among them was innocent? Although Seamless suppressed Yen Tian, he also sacrificed himself and suppressed the Lord of Hell. That war of the heavens also ended in failure. Wasn't all of this going against their original intentions? Wu Dao's main body pondered for a moment and asked, "Since the Seamless Emperor suppressed Yen Tian and the Lord of Hell, why didn't he kill them? Why did he only trap them in the Avicii Hell?" The Seamless Emperor was indeed compassionate. However, Wu Dao's main body believed that the Seamless Emperor wasn't inflexible. Whether it was the Lord of Hell's massacre or the sins of the 9 heavens, the Seamless Emperor couldn't tolerate them. Since that was the case, why did he leave the 2 emperors with a chance to live? More importantly, countless years had passed since the Seamless era. The Lord of Hell and Yen Tian were only left with a wisp of consciousness. Even if their bodies and souls were intact, could their lifespans last until this era? At the mention of this, the Tomb Keeper's eyes flashed with admiration. The reason for this is because the Seamless Emperor realized that with his strength, he couldn't kill Yen Tian and the Lord of Hell. Wu Dao's main body frowned slightly. With the Seamless Emperor's strength, he couldn't kill Yen Tian and the Lord of Hell? The 3 of them were emperors. If the Seamless Emperor could defeat Yen Tian and the Lord of Hell, why couldn't he kill the 2 of them? What was so special about Yen Tian and the Lord of Hell? The Tomb Keeper's face showed the vicissitudes of life. He said faintly, "The few of us and the 9 from the heavenly court can all be considered to have endless lifespans. We can live forever. Eternal lifespans." Wu Dao's main body's heart trembled. Were there really eternal lifespans in the 3,000 worlds? Wu Dao's main body said indifferently, "Endless lifespans don't necessarily mean eternal lifespans. Endless lifespans were only normal circumstances. If he met a stronger expert and killed them, he wouldn't have eternal lifespans. He would just live forever. Immortality meant immortality and indestructibility." The Tomb Keeper understood the meaning of Wu Dao's words. He smiled and said, "Your realm is not high enough, so you can't understand. If you want to kill us completely, unless..." At this point, the Tomb Keeper suddenly paused. He changed the topic and continued, "In short, in the medium-class realm, we can live forever. Even if we fail to conquer the heavens and get our souls scattered, we will still return in the next era." Wu Dao narrowed his eyes and thought of a possibility. Hell. If his guess was correct, the Lord of the Underworld should be on the same side as the Devil Lord. The Lord of the Underworld was in charge of the 6 paths of reincarnation. If the Devil Lord and Evil Emperor were to perish, their souls would enter the cycle of reincarnation. With the help of the Lord of the Underworld, they might be able to reincarnate with their memories. No. Soon, Wu Dao's main body overturned this possibility. In the Devil Lord's words, he had revealed that there were a total of 9 great emperors in the heavenly court. Like them, they were all immortal existences. If that was the case, it would be easy to explain the Devil Lord's side. However, the great emperors in the heavenly court were like fire and water with the Devil Lord. How could they live forever? How long do the great emperors live? Wu Dao's main body asked. 100 million years. The Tomb Keeper said a shocking number. An emperor's lifespan was 10 million years. When he became a great emperor, his lifespan could reach 100 million years. It was almost a qualitative leap. No wonder there was such a huge gap between the combat power of a great emperor and a great emperor. Great emperors should exist in the greater world. Although the great emperors lived for 100 million years, because of the War of the Heavens, almost all the great emperors recorded in history books didn't have a good ending. Why do the great emperors live for 100 million years, but you have endless lifespans and can live forever? Wu Dao's main body asked. The Tomb Keeper said indifferently, The opportunity to live forever is in the greater world. If you can ascend to the greater world, you will naturally have a chance to understand the reason. With your current cultivation, even if I explain it to you, you won't be able to understand. Wu Dao's main body was deep in thought. The tomb keeper was obviously holding back some words. Even if Wu Dao's main body asked, he wasn't willing to say it. However, from what he said just now, the tomb keeper revealed a lot of information. The tomb keeper had once said that the heavenly court was formed by 9 major forces in the greater world. This also meant that the 9 great emperors of the heavenly court should also be from the greater world. The reason why the 9 great emperors could live forever was more likely because their cultivation realm was higher than that of a great emperor. The demon lord and the others were the same. Perhaps because of some special reason, the 9 great emperors and the demon lord of the heavenly court were able to descend from the greater world. However, in the middle world, due to the restrictions of the laws of heaven and earth, the combat power of these people would also be reduced. They could only use the strength of a great emperor. In this life, there shouldn't be any great emperors in Yantian, right? Wu Dao's main body suddenly asked. That's right. The tomb keeper nodded and looked at Wu Dao's main body with a trace of admiration. Wu Dao's main body had once thought of something. The infernal court had long been broken in the endless era. Why had it not been repaired after so many years? Even in the infernal court, wanting to step into the great emperor realm had become as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Not to mention becoming a great emperor. At this moment he finally understood. The infernal court was the path of hell, and it was also the great path that the Lord of Hell cultivated. The Lord of Hell was heavily injured and was suppressed in the Avicii Hell by the Endless Emperor. Naturally, the infernal court could not be repaired by itself. Even if the infernal court could be repaired, no great emperor would be born in the infernal court. Because the Lord of Hell was not dead. This meant that his great path imprint was still in the infernal court. As long as the great path imprint was not destroyed, other living beings in this world would not be able to become a great emperor. The situation in Yantian was the same. The 9 great emperors of the heavenly court corresponded to the 9 heavens. Every heaven corresponded to a different great path imprint. The Yantian emperor had been suppressed in the Avicii Hell by the Endless Emperor. Although he had been trapped for more than an era, he had not died. This meant that the great path imprint in Yantian had not disappeared. However, Yantian was one of the 9 heavens after all. It controlled endless pure heaven earth Yuan Qi and had countless treasures. Its situation was much better than the infernal court. Therefore, there would still be great emperors in Yantian. However, the great path imprint of the Yantian emperor was still there. This meant that no other great emperors would be born in Yantian. When the Endless Emperor chose to trap the Yantian emperor in the Avicii Hell, it was equivalent to crippling a great emperor in the heavenly court. As long as the Yantian emperor was alive, no one in Yantian would be able to become a great emperor. In this era, the heavenly court only had 8 great emperors. No wonder the Yen Luo emperor was so agitated and angry when he saw the hell-suppressing cauldron. Wu Dao's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have thought of something. Perhaps there was another reason why the Seamless Emperor had chosen to imprison the Flame Heaven Emperor in the Avicii Hell. End of chapter. Chapter 30-29. Wu Dao's main body asked. More than an epoch has passed. Have the remaining 8 not thought of saving Yantian Emperor? It's not that easy to save him. The tomb keeper said. Moreover, Yantian is not dead at all. He's just suffering in the Avicii Hell. More than an epoch may be a long time to you guys, but it's nothing to someone like Yantian. Moreover, those 8 still have to guard the heavenly court and protect the 9 heavens' great formation. They won't leave easily. Wu Dao's main body thought and understood the reason. The demon master side was always thinking of killing his way to the 9 heavens. If the 8 emperors of the heavenly court left the heavenly court and headed to the Avicii Hell, the demon master and the others would take advantage of the situation. The demon master's 4 paths could resist the 9 heavens for several epochs. Even if they were defeated, they could still make a comeback. Moreover, in the depths of the 4 paths, there was an underworld that controlled the 6 paths of reincarnation and an extremely mysterious underworld river. Perhaps, this was what the heavenly court was wary of. The tomb keeper continued. In the last epoch, the 8 emperors of the heavenly court did have such thoughts. They wanted to save Yantian. However, they were worried that they would be trapped and did not do it personally. Instead, they sent someone else to the Avicii Hell. Someone else? The Avicii Hell was known as the void of time and space. Even emperors could not escape from it. Apart from emperors, who was qualified to enter the Avicii Hell? A thought suddenly flashed through the martial Dao body's mind. He recalled a legend that the heavenly wolf had mentioned to him. Back then, the two of them wanted to go to the Avicii Hell. The Sky Wolf was extremely fearful of the Avicii Hell and said that the Longevity Emperor had once come to the Heaven Realm. He stopped in front of the Avicii Hell for a long time but did not enter in the end. The person you're talking about is the Longevity Emperor? Wu Dao's main body asked. That's right. The Tomb Keeper seemed to be disdainful and contemptuous when talking about the Longevity Emperor. It was a completely different feeling from when he talked about the Avicii Emperor. The Tomb Keeper said, the Longevity Emperor cherished his life too much. He wanted to live forever but in the end, he only lived for 20 million years. Wu Dao's main body was stunned. It turned out that the Longevity Monarch didn't die because his lifespan ran out, but because he didn't have a good ending. Wu Dao frowned and asked, in the previous era, the Longevity Monarch didn't help you guys conquer the 9 heavens, so you guys killed him? Hey! The Tomb Keeper chuckled. You're only half right. Chongsheng cherishes his life. Before him, several great emperors of the Middle Worlds were all defeated and killed. Therefore, even though he knew how evil the Heavenly Court was, he didn't dare to make an enemy out of them. Instead, he chose to join the Heavenly Court, hoping for a chance to ascend to the greater worlds and obtain eternal life. However, he was too naive and underestimated the methods of those from the Heavenly Court. In their eyes, let alone the living beings of the Middle World, even the living beings of the greater world are just ants. Chongsheng thought that he could be rewarded by the Heavenly Court by lowering himself and begging for mercy with his identity as a great emperor. However, in the eyes of those people, he was at most a dog. Wu Dao was silent. The Tomb Keeper had just said that the 9 great emperors of the Heavenly Court all came from the greater worlds and were above the great emperor realm. However, he didn't say how much higher they were than the great emperors. What were the 9 great emperors' identities in the greater worlds? Was the Longevity Monarch just a begging dog in their eyes? The Tomb Keeper continued. Chongsheng didn't get the chance to ascend to the greater worlds, but the Heavenly Court didn't let him stay idle. Instead, they sent him to the Avicii Hell to save Yen Tian. Chongsheng came to the Avicii Hell and stayed there for 3 years. In the end, he didn't go down. Maybe it was because of fear, or maybe he thought it through. Even if he saved Yen Tian, the Heavenly Court wouldn't let him ascend to the greater worlds. The Tomb Keeper suddenly laughed. There was a hint of coldness in his laughter, which made one's hair stand on end. I don't know if he was too stupid or if he thought that those from the Heavenly Court were too kind. He didn't complete the task given by the Heavenly Court and still dared to return to report. Wu Dao suddenly thought of a possibility. Although he didn't want to believe it, he still asked with difficulty. He was killed by the Heavenly Court's great emperors? The Tomb Keeper said faintly. He went against the will of the Heavenly Court, which is a serious crime. For many years, he didn't get the chance to ascend, so he must be angry. In order to prevent the Longevity Monarch from joining forces with us, do you think those from the Heavenly Court would let him live? Chongsheng Monarch's fate wasn't pitiful at all. He had brought this upon himself. Compared to the Infernal Monarch, the Luotian Monarch, and the other great emperors who went to conquer the 9 heavens and died in battle, the Longevity Monarch's death was too humiliating. However, Wu Dao's heart was still heavy when he heard this, and he sighed softly. Because the 9 heavens were the Heavenly Court, blocking the path of ascension, and without the environment and cultivation resources of the greater worlds, it was extremely difficult for a great emperor to be born in a middle world. During this period, who knew how many years had passed, how many geniuses had been eliminated, and how many life and death situations had occurred? After the Longevity Monarch, who knew how many top experts had appeared? For example, Monarch Bo Sun, the Celestial Slaying Sword Emperor, and so on. However, in this era, there were also peak monarch experts in the various superworlds, and even peerless geniuses like Dai Yu. However, until today, no one had been able to prove their Dao as a great emperor. However, so what if they had proven their Dao as a great emperor? In the eyes of those from the Heavenly Court, their lives were still worthless. The Longevity Monarch didn't choose to go against the Heavenly Court. Perhaps it was because he was afraid of his life, or perhaps it was because he wanted to prove his Tao of longevity. Longevity. He had spent his entire life just to seek immortality. The Longevity Monarch was even willing to put down his dignity and compromise, But in the end, he didn't even get the chance to live forever. The longevity monarch had some tricks up his sleeve. In the end, he escaped from the heavenly court and returned to the middle world. The tomb keeper continued, however, when he returned, he was already on the verge of death. Not long after he died. After hearing about the longevity monarch's past, Wu Dao and Dai Yu both sighed. The longevity monarch had risked his life to return to the middle world and chose to return to his roots. Wu Dao believed that at the last moment, the longevity monarch's heart was filled with regret. He regretted putting down his dignity and compromising. However, he didn't have the chance anymore. The only thing he could do was to return to the middle world and leave his legacy behind, returning it to the living beings of the middle world. After a long time, Wu Dao took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He asked again, "Didn't you think of rescuing the Lord of Hell?" The tomb keeper was expressionless, as if he hadn't heard anything. He didn't respond immediately. Wu Dao's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly thought of another matter. This matter had been lingering in his heart for a long time, but he still didn't have any clue. Only now did he have some clues. End of chapter. Chapter 30. You tried to save him as well. Wu Dao's true body looked at the tomb keeper and said slowly, "Tens of thousands of years ago, there was a huge change in the Avicii hell. It shook violently and nearly collapsed, causing the hell-suppressing cauldron and mask of Mara to fall into Tianhuang mainland. At that time, you were near the Avicii hell. Therefore, I guess that the change had something to do with you." When he heard that, the tomb keeper's brows twitched slightly. Wu Dao's true body continued, "Previously, I guess that you were the emperor buried heaven because I thought that you wanted to save Emperor Bo Sun who was trapped inside. That was the reason why the change in the Avicii hell shook. However, from the looks of it now, the reason why the turmoil happened was because you wanted to save the Lord of Hell of the Avicii hell. Since Emperor Bo Sun was one of the 3 corpses of the emperor buried heaven, he should not be in any danger in the Avicii hell. Instead, he could make use of the Avicii hell to cultivate. Even in the battle back then, Wu Dao's true body suspected that Emperor Bo Sun's fall into the Avicii hell might have been intentional. If the change in the Avicii hell was truly caused by the tomb keeper, there was only a single possibility if it was not because of Bo Sun. It was because of the Lord of Hell who was trapped in the Avicii hell. That's right. The tomb keeper nodded calmly after being guessed by Wu Dao's true body. Thereafter, the tomb keeper lowered his gaze and glanced at the hell-suppressing cauldron that had fallen beside his feet. He moved his fingers gently and the hell-suppressing cauldron flew towards Wu Dao's true body. He did not use much strength and had the intention of returning it. Wu Dao's true body caught it casually. Immediately after, the tomb keeper said casually, "I crushed this cauldron back then. Right now, it's as good as new." True enough. Back when he heard the heavenly wolf mention this, Wu Dao's true body wondered if the hell-suppressing cauldron was shattered in the Avicii era or in the change tens of thousands of years ago. Today, it could be said that the tomb keeper had confirmed it. Even if the Emperor Avicii was dead, the fact that he could crush this Emperor divine weapon with his bare hands was proof of the Fiend Lord's strength. The tomb keeper said, "Wu Ji is indeed powerful. Even if I crush the subduing hell cauldron, I still won't be able to save the Lord of Hell. Unless we have the power to break the Avicii Great Hell, the 2 of them will always be trapped inside. Even the Demon Master couldn't do anything about it." He had once said that he and the others from the heavenly court were all above the great emperor realm. However, due to the restrictions of the laws of heaven and earth, they could only unleash the battle prowess of the great emperor realm in the middle world. If even the Devil Master couldn't do anything, then no one in the middle world would be able to save the Flame Heaven Emperor and the Lord of Hell. Empyrean had sacrificed himself, using his own flesh and blood to create the Avicii Hell, trapping 2 Empyrean emperors. This move was truly powerful. Wu Dao's main body said, "You pushed me into hell because you wanted me to form a relationship with hell. This way, I will naturally stand with you against Heaven Court." Not bad. The tomb keeper was extremely calm and could be considered upright. "I did indeed have such selfish motives when I pushed you into hell. However, I also had another consideration. Once the War of the Heavens starts again, the army of hell will be leaderless and no one will be able to restrict them from entering the middle world. It will be a huge disaster for the living beings here. If you become the new Lord of Hell, you can control this army of hell and restrict them. At least, you won't let the disaster of the Empyrean era happen again. I believe that you won't refuse." The Tomb Keeper wasn't wrong. He gave Wu Dao's main body a reason that he couldn't refuse. If this army of hell wasn't restrained by anyone or fell into the hands of some evil person, who knew how great of a disaster it would cause in the 3,000 worlds. Actually, even if the Tomb Keeper didn't choose to take the initiative to rope him in and add fuel to the fire, with Su Zimo's character, he would still choose to conquer the 9 heavens in the end. Dai was the same. This was also the final choice of most of the great emperors. From the beginning to the end, Dai rarely spoke. At this moment, she seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, "Is the legendary 9 heavens Xian Envi Emperor related to the 9 heavens?" Hearing this, the Tomb Keeper smiled and said, "You are very smart. The 9 heavens Xian Envi was originally from the 9 heavens. Although she was in the heavenly court, she didn't agree with the actions of the heavenly court. Therefore, she came to the middle world and proved her Tao as a great emperor. She joined forces with us and started the first war of the heavens. So that was it. The 9 heavens Xian Envi of the great emperors was originally from the 9 heavens. In other words, for the 9 heavens Xian Envi, she originally had a better choice. She was in the heavenly court. As long as she stepped into the great emperor realm, she could choose to ascend to the upper world at any time. There was no need for this at all. However, she still chose another path. It was an extremely difficult path with a slim chance of survival. After several War of the Heavens, she didn't succeed once. Even in this life, when Wu Dao's main body was preparing to participate in the War of the Heavens, he didn't have any confidence. The foundation of the heavenly court was far more terrifying than he imagined. The great emperors of the heavenly court were also not comparable to the great emperors of the middle world. At least those great emperors had endless lifespans and would never die. As for the great emperors of the middle world, after they died, they would really die and their Tao would disappear. There was no chance for them to be reborn. However, Wu Dao's main body guessed that although the Demon Master and the great emperors of the heavenly court were known to be immortal, they were not without weaknesses. If they were really beaten to death, it would take a long time for them to be reborn and return to their peak. Otherwise, every war of the heavens would not wait for an era to start. In this life, although the heavenly court only had 8 great emperors, the Demon Master side also had 1 less Lord of Hell. Moreover, in the middle world, it was still unknown who could prove their Tao as a great emperor. This great emperor of the middle world was extremely important to the War of the Heavens. If he stood on the Demon Master side, there might be a chance for them to win the War of the Heavens. If he stood on the heavenly court side, the Demon Master side still had no chance of winning. Wu Dao's main body pondered and said, "In this life, the heavenly court has 8 great emperors. How many do you have on your side? You have 1, Brahma Ghost Mother who controls the Ghost Tao, Evil Emperor who controls the Beast Tao. Who else? The Lord of the Underworld, the legendary Great Emperor of Fengdu? A total of 4? Fengdu?" When the Tomb Keeper heard this name, his 2 white eyebrows twitched slightly. His expression changed slightly and quickly disappeared. The abnormality that flashed across the Tomb Keeper's face was quickly caught by Wu Dao's main body. He immediately asked, "The Lord of the Underworld is not a great emperor?" Whether it was the existence of the Underworld or the Lord of the Underworld, they were all very mysterious. Regarding the Lord of the Underworld, the great emperor of Fengdu, only the Yaksha King had mentioned it to him. However, with the Yaksha King's identity and strength, he probably did not know much about the underworld and might not be accurate. Chapter 30-31. The Tomb Keeper acted as if he hadn't heard the martial Tao body's question. He continued, "The 2 of you are indeed at the peak of the martial emperor realm. However, there is only 1 great emperor in the middle world. Other than you, the other peak martial emperors have the chance to prove their Tao. If they don't become martial emperors, they won't be able to fight against the heavenly court." The Tomb Keeper was obviously avoiding the question of the Lord of the Underworld. With the Tomb Keeper's identity and background, if he didn't want to answer, no matter how the martial Tao true body asked, it would be useless. Moreover, the martial Tao body had already sensed that the Tomb Keeper had the intention to leave. He ignored the Lord of the Underworld and asked again, "Where does the river Styx come from? Even if it is the 6 paths of reincarnation, where are the heavenly Tao and human Tao?" The Tomb Keeper ignored Wu Dao's question and continued, "Today's battle should have attracted the attention of those in the heavenly courts. Of course, you haven't become a martial emperor, so they might not take you seriously. This is your chance. Be careful in the future. Before you become a martial emperor, Try not to make such a big scene. See you again. Without waiting for the martial Dao body to ask anything, the Tomb Keeper's figure had already disappeared into the darkness. The world formed around the Tomb Keeper was also dispersing at any moment. The surrounding battlefield was a mess. Martial Emperor's blood dyed the sky red, and many Martial Emperor's corpses floated in the sky. While Wu Dao and the other two were talking, the Divine Elephant Demon Emperor, the Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor, and the other Martial Emperors of the Eastern Wilderness had already led the people of the Eastern Wilderness to clean up the battlefield and collect the treasures. Although their world was broken and their combat power was greatly reduced, they could still do some cleaning up work with ease. When Wu Dao and Dai Yu reappeared in the sky, the Divine Elephant Demon Emperor and the Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor went to greet them and handed over the many storage bags and treasures they had obtained from the battlefield. Wu Dao picked a few storage bags and was about to give them to the tiger, little fox, and the others, when he gave the rest to Dai Yu. Dai Yu shook her head slightly and took out a storage pouch. I need some origin stones to repair the world. The rest is of no use to me. At Dai Yu's level, whether one could prove their Dao as a great emperor or not, one needed to have a deeper understanding of the Dao and some hidden opportunities. Wu Dao's real body took out a few storage pouches and gave them to the Divine Elephant Demon Monarch, Nine-Tailed Demon Monarch, and the other 5 Demon Monarchs of the East Baron before keeping the rest. The Divine Elephant Demon Monarch, the Nine-Tailed Demon Monarch, and the others were overjoyed when they received the storage pouch. One had to know that in each pouch, there were not only the treasures of the Emperor Realm Cultivator, but also the world fragment of the Emperor Realm Cultivator. The Imperial Lords of the Heavenly Courts had even more treasures in their storage bags. There were even some origin stones in the storage pouches that Wu Dao's main body had given them. With the help of these cultivation resources and treasures, not only could their worlds be repaired smoothly, but they could also improve their cultivation realms. With the end of this battle, the Great Wilderness finally regained its long-lost peace. In Butterfly Valley, Wu Dao's main body and Dai Yu returned hand in hand. What do you think of the Demon Lord's words? Wu Dao's main body asked. Dai Yu pondered for a moment and said, he must have held back and didn't tell us everything. He even deliberately avoided some questions. That's right. Wu Dao's main body nodded. The Tomb Keeper's appearance had indeed solved many of his doubts. However, there were still too many unknowns about the Tomb Keeper's origin, the Four Dao's origin, and the underworld. The only thing that could be confirmed was that the Demon Lord, the Evil Monarch, and the 9 Great Emperors of the Heavenly Courts all came from the Great Thousand Domains and were above the Great Emperor realm. That was why he dared to claim that he had an endless lifespan and would never die. As for why the Demon Lord and the others fell from the Great Thousand Domains, he had no idea. As for what Dai Yu said about the Tomb Keeper holding back, Wu Dao's main body could also feel it. At least in the War of the Heavens, the Demon Lord's side might not be doing it for the tens of thousands of living beings in the middle world. They might have their own motives and selfish motives. Dai Yu continued. Although he held back and even hid some things, his words are trustworthy. Wu Dao's main body nodded. After this interaction, he felt that the Tomb Keeper was rather magnanimous. There were some things that the Tomb Keeper did not want to answer and would avoid talking about. At least, he did not choose to lie. Moreover, many of the information that the Tomb Keeper said could be corroborated with the information that Wu Dao's main body had received. After returning from Hell, Wu Dao's main body knew about the situation with Qinglian's main body. He also knew that Qinglian's main body had entered the tomb of the Great Battle Emperor and obtained the inheritance of the Battle Catalogue. The last move of the Battle Catalogue was called Battle of the 9 Heavens. When Qinglian's main body first saw the name, she did not think much of it. It was only when the Tomb Keeper said those words that she understood that the 9 heavens of the Battle of the 9 Heavens really had 9 heavens. The Battle Soul, Battle of the 10,000 Races, Battle of the Universe, Battle of the Past and Present. This last move was used by the Great Battle Emperor against the Heavenly Court. And those June tokens that were left behind on the path to heaven belonged to the powerhouses of the great sky of the 9 heavens. Wu Dao's main body recalled the figures of those great emperors during the 10 tribulations of the true martial realm and could not help but sigh softly. These ancient great emperors sacrificed their lives to conquer the 9 heavens just to break the cage and give all living beings a chance to ascend. But in exchange, they were slandered for countless years. Some of the descendants of the great emperors were even imprisoned in the sinful grounds of the evil demons. They were cursed and scolded for all eternity, slaughtered by tens of thousands of races, never to see the light of day again. Wu Dao's main body was sorrowful. Even if the matter of the 9 heavens was made public now, how many people would believe it? How many people would believe the demon lord's words? Dai Yu was silent. To her, it was very easy to distinguish whose words were more trustworthy. Because one side had been trying to cover up the truth for countless years, erasing all traces of the past. To Wu Dao's main body, there was another reason why he was more willing to believe the demon lord. It was because of those ancient great emperors. Even if the demon lord and the others failed to conquer the heavens, they could still be reborn. And once the ancient great emperors of the middle world died, it meant that their bodies and Dao were gone. They knew that this path was very dangerous, and they might not even be able to return. But they still did not hesitate to conquer the 9 heavens. These ancient great emperors were the top geniuses that emerged in the long river of time. Wu Dao's main body said. They might not have been unable to see that the demon lord and the evil emperor had other motives. But they still made this choice. Dai Yu said, because the heavenly court should not exist. The existence of the heavenly court is the greatest evil. The two of them looked at each other and understood each other's thoughts. At this moment, the two of them made the same decision as those ancient great emperors. Conquering the 9 heavens. For themselves and for all living beings. Chapter 30-32. What are you thinking about? Dai Yu could not help but ask when she saw that Wu Dao's main body would occasionally fall into deep thought. Wu Dao's main body said. Something happened on Qinglian's side. The two main bodies were communicating with their divine wills. Dai Yu also knew about the existence of Qinglian's main body, so she asked, danger? Where? Wu Dao's main body said. Over at the Blood Ape realm. Dai Yu frowned and said. Then I'm afraid it's too late. Even a peak imperial emperor would need nearly a day to rush there. It's fine. Qinglian should be able to handle it herself. Wu Dao's main body smiled faintly and said, even if there's danger, I can rush over in time. I can arrive in a flash. You can rush over to the Blood Ape realm in a flash? Dai Yu was rather surprised when she heard that. Yes. Wu Dao's main body nodded. Dai Yu said, normally, this is the method of a great emperor. Only a great emperor who has proven their Dao and left their Dao seal in a middle world can their divine wills envelop every corner of the 3,000 realms and arrive in a flash. Even a peak imperial emperor would need at least a day to cross countless realms and billions of galaxies. However, once a great emperor became one, their divine wills would increase exponentially and envelop the 3,000 realms. With their Dao seal, they could descend to any place in the 3,000 realms in a flash. This was the terrifying strength of a great emperor. The difference between the two was like the abyss. Therefore, Dai Yu found it hard to believe. This is the method of a great emperor? Wu Dao's main body was slightly startled and said, I cultivated 10 gates of hell in my martial cultivation universe. If 10 gates are opened at the same time, they can indeed break through the spatial barrier and descend to any place in the 3,000 realms. It was also because of this that Wu Dao's main body could return to the great wasteland world directly from hell. 10 gates of hell. Dai Yu had seen the power of the 10 gates of hell. Even the constellation Imperial Emperor could not withstand it and was shattered into pieces. However, she did not expect the 10 gates of hell to have such a use. In reality, the mystical abilities of the 10 gates of hell did not stop there. When Wu Dao first formed the Frost Hell Gate, his true body hadn't entered the Great God Realm yet. Therefore, he couldn't control the entire Frost Hell Realm through the Frost Hell Gate and sense the situation inside. And now, the 10 gates of hell were connected to the 9 hells and the Avicii Hell. Wu Dao's true body could even sense the consciousness of the 2 great emperors trapped in the deepest part of the Avicii Hell through the door of Avicii. Of course, it was impossible for Wu Dao's true body to release these 2 consciousnesses. He would not choose to erase these 2 consciousnesses. This was because if he killed the consciousnesses of the Flame Heaven Emperor and the Lord of Hell, it would be equivalent to saving them and allowing them to be reborn. He wouldn't act rashly before he had a way to kill the Flame Heaven Emperor and the Lord of Hell. However, he could use the 10 gates of hell to make some other arrangements. Wu Dao's true body had once said that he would provide greater opportunities to the people of hell. He could even guarantee that Hell Master Ku Quan would not die. He was referring to this arrangement. He could use the 9 gates of hell to send the Grotto Heaven experts of the 9 hells into the middle world. These Grotto Heaven kings had been stuck at the Grotto Heaven realm for many years. It was only because of hell that they were unable to break through. If these Grotto Heaven kings and quasi-emperors were brought into the middle world, Most of them would step into the Emperor realm as long as they were given some time. Hellmaster Xueqi's lifespan would also increase dramatically because of this. At that time, the overall strength of this army of hell would be raised to a whole new level. In fact, the gap between the two true bodies had been getting bigger and bigger since they started cultivating. Qinglian's true body seemed useless, but in Su Zimo's heart, Qinglian's true body had an irreplaceable position and function. Qinglian's true body was his escape route. Wu Dao's true body was an anomaly. It was too special. Even the Dao that he cultivated was unprecedented. Wu Dao's true body had once flashed with an extremely terrifying sense of danger. Su Zimo didn't know when that kind of danger would descend. Even without this kind of danger, the expedition to the Heavenly Court was still a narrow escape. After all, in the past few epochs, none of the emperors had succeeded. If this expedition to the Nine Heavens failed again, with Wu Dao's true body around, he could at least protect Dai Yu if he risked his life. Even if Wu Dao's true body died, he and Dai Yu would still have a chance to be together. Of course, this was also his own selfishness. These were just preparations for a rainy day. Everything was still unknown. At this moment, another matter flashed through the mind of Wu Dao's true body. In the previous battle with Emperor Azure Flame and the others, he had casually killed many celestial realm emperors. Among them, when 2 Monkey Kings died, a wisp of dark green light had appeared. At that time, the battle was in full swing, so he didn't think too much about it. Now that he thought about it, that power should have originated from some kind of witch curse. Why would the 2 celestial realm emperors have the witch curse on them? That day, Elder Taiguan and the others couldn't bear to see the blood butterfly demon empress being ganged up on and bullied, so they returned to the Sword Realm early. A few days later, the 8 peak lords of the Sword Peaks arrived together. They barged in recklessly without any notice, and all of them looked shocked. Something big has happened in the Great Wilderness Domain, Lu Yun said with a pale face. Calm down. The skinny elder frowned and glared at Lu Yun and the others. You're all peak lords of the Sword Peaks. Look at you, what are you doing? We've known about this for a long time. The old man with the iron crown sighed softly and said, I don't know why that demon monarch Xueqi offended the power behind the celestial tribute world. She fought against 100 imperial emperors alone, and even managed to kill 5 of them before she died. It wasn't easy at all and she died with honor. Since ancient times, none of the realms that fought against the celestial realm were spared. What a pity for the great wilderness. The fat elder also sighed. The 8 peak lords were stunned as they looked at the 3 celestial realm emperors. Lu Yun muttered. Lu Yun mused, of the 3 realm lords, the blood butterfly empress is still alive. Elder Taiguan frowned. What did you say? She's not dead? Did she escape from 100 celestial realm emperors? She didn't escape. Lu Yun gulped. I heard that her Dao partner, the one with the Dao name Araki Takashi, is back. What's the use of Araki Takashi coming back? The skinny old man snorted coldly before Lu Yun could finish. Lu Yun continued. Araki Takashi came back and killed dozens of celestial realm emperors single-handedly. The celestial realm suffered heavy casualties and returned in defeat. I heard that the blood of emperors dyed the galaxy red in that battle. It was extremely tragic. Elder Taiguan and the others jumped to their feet. What? Elder Taiguan's eyes widened in disbelief as he exclaimed. Calm down, Realm Lord. Lu Yun coughed softly. Elder Taiguan and the others blushed. They knew that Lu Yun wouldn't lie about something so important. Has Araki Takashi already proven his Dao as a great emperor? Elder Taiguan immediately thought of a possibility. But soon he shook his head. No, if he has proven his Dao as a great emperor, everyone in the 3,000 realms should have sensed it. Tell us, what's going on? The 3 elders took a step forward and pulled him over, asking in a low voice. Almost at the same time, all the major realms received the news, causing an uproar. All the emperors and races were shocked. End of chapter. Chapter 30-33. Sword World. Lu Yun and the others recounted the various rumors they'd heard in detail, but the 3 old men were still unsatisfied and sighed wryly. Why did we come back? If I had known, I would have stayed a little longer. The fat old man grumbled. The many scenes of the battle had been spread by countless people. Even so, everyone was still shocked and excited when they heard it. One person single-handedly defeated nearly 100 imperial emperors. What kind of combat strength was this? The skinny old man was speechless and said, "This Araki Takashi is really fearless. He even killed many of the celestial court's experts behind the celestial world." Before Qinglian's true body left the sword world, she had talked a lot with the three old men and mentioned the existence of the celestial court. The fat old man analyzed. This Araki Takashi is fearless. It's very likely that he has the support of an expert like the Demon Lord. Lu Yun said, "Emperor Araki Takashi became famous in one battle and shocked thousands of races. I'm afraid that he's the most likely expert to become a great emperor in this era." Not necessarily. The old man shook his head and said, "It's not that simple to become a great emperor. This Araki Takashi is the strongest, but he might not be able to become a great emperor. To be more precise, any peak imperial emperor in the 3,000 worlds can take that step. At least that demon empress Xueqi has a very high chance of becoming a great emperor." The fat old man sighed. If the two of them become Tao companions, as long as the great emperors don't come out, they can probably do whatever they want in the 3,000 worlds. I really didn't expect this. The skinny old man sighed. I thought that Demon Empress Xueqi was already a ruthless person. Who would have thought that there's someone even more ruthless behind her? Yulan asked, "Both of them are so powerful. Do they have a chance to become great emperors at the same time?" Absolutely not. The old man shook his head and said, "You haven't stepped into the great emperor realm, so you don't understand the reason. Since ancient times, only one great emperor can be born in each era. There has never been a situation where two great emperors exist side by side. As long as this great emperor doesn't die and his Tao seal doesn't vanish, no one else will ever be able to become a great emperor." The fat old man seemed to have thought of something. He looked at the 8 peak leaders of the sword peaks and asked, "Any news about Su Zimo recently?" Lu Yun and the others shook their heads sadly. The old man with the iron crown had a conflicted expression. Su Zimo possesses the grade 12 creation Green Lotus bloodline and has comprehended 9 supreme divine powers at the true self realm. That's unprecedented. If he's given enough time, he'll definitely have the chance to become a great emperor in the future. It's just that in this generation, experts like Araki Takashi and Dai Yu are too dazzling. I'm afraid a great emperor will be born before he grows up." There was a strange black hole floating in the boundless starry sky. The battle of the Great Wilderness had caused a huge commotion in the 3,000 realms. Only this strange black hole was completely silent, isolated from the rest of the world. Inside the black hole, there was a path to heaven. At the end of the path, there was a huge pitch-black stone pillar. Around the stone pillar were 18 grotto heavenly kings. 3 of them sat at the very front. They were all peak kings and were taking turns to refine the pitch-black stone pillar. 280 years had passed. The Red Sea Monkey King had long made up his mind. Even if he had to spend thousands or even tens of thousands of years here, he wouldn't hesitate. This great emperor divine weapon was secondary. Most importantly, it was very likely that the great emperor divine weapon contained the inheritance left behind by the Dozhan emperor. The taboo secret manual. The battle catalogue. Among the people trapped inside, one of them had the bloodline of the grade 12 Green Lotus of creation, which was also a rare treasure. Inside the pitch-black stone pillar. More than 100 years ago, Su Zimo and the monkey had already obtained the inheritance of the battle catalogue. The monkey had entered the blood pool containing the long-armed blood ape to receive the baptism and inheritance. Su Zimo sat before the Dozhan Emperor's grave and comprehended the secrets of the Grotto Heaven. In fact, back in the Day-Night Land, when he had just entered the Dongxi realm, he had the chance to take another step and enter the Grotto Heaven realm. However, after weighing the pros and cons for a long time, Su Zimo did not take that step. His Tao fruit had yet to reach the Great Circle. However, he had a bold and even crazy idea. Su Zimo had been cultivating for so long with the help of the creation Qinglian bloodline. He was able to cultivate the immortal, Buddhist, fiend, and demon Daos. These 4 Daos did not conflict with each other at all. They all became his creations. For the immortal Tao, he had the taboo secret manuals, the 3 pure jade manual and the Daluo sword manual. He also had the supreme profound spirit Big Dipper Sutra and the Void Thunder manual. For the Buddhist Tao, he had the taboo secret manual, the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. He also had the Great Vajra Chakra seal and the Great Mount Meru seal. For the fiend Tao, he had the taboo secret manual, the Sky Burying Sutra. For the demon Tao, He had the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness that Dai Yu had imparted to him. He also had the battle catalogue that he had just cultivated. He also had the secret manuals of the Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, and other sacred beasts. He had fused 9 supreme divine powers into his Tao fruit. At the very least, at the true self realm, he was incomparably strong and shocked the past and present. Su Zimo was prepared to enter the Grotto Heaven realm. However, he did not intend to form a single Grotto Heaven, but 5. The Immortal, Buddhist, Demon, Daluo Sword Tomb and Yin Yang Grotto Heaven. In the Fiend Tao, he only cultivated a single taboo secret manual that was slightly weaker. Coupled with the Daluo Sword Manual, he would be able to form the Daluo Sword Tomb that represented the Fiend Tao. This was a thought that he already had when he was in the land of day and night. If he could successfully form 5 Grotto Heavens right after entering the Grotto Heaven realm, his combat strength would definitely increase exponentially and reach an extremely terrifying realm. Since ancient times, no one had ever done such a thing. That was because it was impossible. The amount of power required to form 5 Grotto Heavens was way too immense. Even if his Tao fruit fused 9 supreme divine powers and cultivated to the perfected state, the power he could release would only be able to help him form 2 Grotto Heavens at most. It was practically impossible for him to form 5 Grotto Heavens. When Su Zimo found out that this was the tomb of the Dozhan Emperor, he thought of a solution. Now that he had accumulated for more than 100 years, the time was ripe and he had once again grasped the opportunity to enter a Grotto Heaven. Boom! This time round, Su Zimo no longer hesitated. The Tao fruit flew out of his glabella and exploded under the control of his spirit consciousness. An extremely terrifying power burst forth and tore the void apart instantly, creating a gigantic black hole that reached the heavens. Su Zimo's eyes widened and were bloodshot. Using his spirit consciousness, he tried his best to control the massive power and split the black hole in the void into 5. Apart from the terrifying power that burst forth from the Tao fruit, all the Tao arts that were initially fused into the Tao fruit were released at this moment. Su Zimo split those Tao arts rapidly and sent the Tao arts that represented the immortal sex into the first Grotto Heaven. He fused the Tao arts that represented the Buddhist sex into the second Grotto Heaven. The first 2 Grotto Heavens absorbed almost all the power released by the Tao fruit and gradually stabilized. However, the remaining 3 Grotto Heavens did not have enough power to support them and were already showing signs of collapse. Chapter 30-34. Su Zimo channeled the Heaven Burial Sutra hurriedly and absorbed energy from the tomb of the great emperor endlessly, surging it into the 3rd and 4th Grotto Heavens. At the same time, he fused the demon sex Tao technique and thousands of resplendent runes into the 3rd Grotto Heaven. The tomb of the great emperor was where demons were buried. There was no resistance towards the formation of the demon sex Grotto Heavens. The 4th Grotto Heaven was the Zenith Sword Tomb that represented the Fiend Tao. The Zenith Sword Tomb contained the intent of burial to begin with and was similar to the Tao technique of the great emperor's tomb. Hence, it was only a matter of time before he made use of the power of the tomb to support the 4th Grotto Heaven. However, the 5th Grotto Heaven was the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven. It was difficult for the power of the great emperor's tomb to be fused into it. Su Zimo was long prepared and channeled the 2 divine stones, illumination and nether glow, in his eyes. 2 divine lights, one black and one white, were injected into the 5th Grotto Heaven that was about to collapse and fused with the Yin Yang Tao technique within. He made use of the 2 divine stones to support the 5th Grotto Heaven. The 5 Grotto Heavens had just been formed and were initially unstable, as though they could dissipate at any moment. However, as time passed by, the 5 Grotto Heavens stabilized. If Monkey were to open his eyes right now, he would definitely see an extremely shocking scene. Su Zimo assumed a lotus position with his eyes closed and his black hair fluttered without any wind. Around him were 5 terrifying Grotto Heavens. The first Grotto Heaven was surrounded by the 3 pure Qis. Stars shone brightly and thunder rumbled, revealing all sorts of shocking phenomenons. The second Grotto Heaven had many Buddhas standing in the void and chanting loudly. Divine dragons and divine elephants coiled around them as companions. Within the Grotto Heaven, Buddhist light shone brightly and Sanskrit reverberated. Flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses bloomed from the ground. The 3rd Grotto Heaven had bulls plowing through the skies, stone bears leaning against trees, anacondas plucking grass, sanguine apes flipping mountains, divine steeds galloping, tigers and leopards roaring, dragon kings trampling the seas, great rocks soaring and divine elephants crossing rivers. The 12 demon kings had all appeared. Apart from the 12 demon kings, there was an azure dragon, a vermilion bird bathed in flames, a white tiger devoured a corpse and a black tortoise treading on waves. The fourth grotto heaven was silent and silent. One after another, swords pierced the tombs like tombstones that buried the 9 heavens. In the fifth grotto heaven, day and night alternated. The sun rose and the moon set. There was a black and a white fish chasing each other in the sky. Xueqi was situated in the middle of the 5 heavenly grottos. Receiving the nourishment from the 5 heavenly grottos, his aura was rising rapidly. Be it his physique, bloodline or essence spirit realm, everything was improving rapidly. The reason why grotto heaven kings were powerful was not only because of their grotto heaven, but also because their physical body, bloodline, and primordial spirit had been tempered by their grotto heaven. But now, Xueqi's body, bloodline and essence spirit were being tempered by 5 grotto heavens at the same time. Although Qinglian of good fortune was still at the 12th grade, after being nourished by the 5 heavenly caves, her strength was rapidly increasing, as if she had been reborn. Within his consciousness, Xueqi's essence spirit sat cross-legged on the creation lotus platform. His body shone with brilliance and his aura rose continuously. When he was at the Dongshu stage, Xueqi's primordial spirit had already reached the grotto heaven stage. Now that he was at the grotto heaven stage and had formed 5 grotto heavens, his essence spirit had skipped 2 stages and reached the perfected grotto heaven stage. Xueqi even had a feeling that he could fight against Wu Dao's original body, who had just entered the martial domain stage. If he were to release the secret technique of fighting the ancient and modern times, with the support of the river of time and his lifespan depleted, it was still unknown who would win. At that moment, Xueqi seemed to have sensed something and opened his eyes. Perhaps it was because he had made use of the heaven burial scripture to absorb the power of the emperor's tomb to support his grotto heaven, causing the surrounding tomb to shake continuously. Originally, there were 4 blood pools in the middle of the tomb. However, at that moment, other than the monkey's pool, the blood in the other 3 pools had all leaked out. The strange thing was that the blood seemed to be guided by something and surged towards the blood pool of the long-armed blood ape. The blood in the 3 pools came from the spiritual stone monkey, the 6-eared macaque and the red-bone horse monkey. Although they were of the same race, the 3 bloodlines were incompatible with the monkey's long-armed blood ape bloodline and rejected each other. Xueqi hesitated for a moment. Much of the blood in the 3 pools had already surged into the blood pool of the monkey. Originally, there was only one bloodline in the blood pool and it came from the same source as the monkey. With the help of the blood in the blood pool, the monkey had completely awakened the long-armed blood ape bloodline and its combat strength had increased tremendously. With the power contained in the blood, the monkey even had a chance of breaking through to the paradise stage. However, the other 3 bloodlines that flowed in brought about a huge crisis for the monkey who was in the midst of cultivation. The monkey cried out in pain and its body suddenly convulsed, as if it was in extreme pain. In fact, even without Xueqi, the bloodlines in the other 3 blood pools would have taken the initiative to find the monkey. They had waited here for too long and there was no successor. Now that someone from the ape race had barged in, it did not matter if it was the long-armed blood ape or the 6-eared macaque. The inheritance of the Dao techniques in the other 3 bloodlines could not be severed just like that. Therefore, the 3 bloodlines took the initiative to find the monkey, wanting to charge into his body and become a part of his bloodline. Instantly, an intense conflict broke out when the 4 bloodlines entered the monkey's body. The battlefield of the 4 bloodlines was the monkey's body. It was obvious how much pain the monkey was in right now. Poof, poof, poof. The surface of the monkey's body exploded and a blood mist spewed out. Those 4 bloodlines were the rarest and strongest bloodlines of the ape race. Not to mention mixing 4 of them together, even if 2 of them were combined into one, it would still take the monkey's life. Those bloodlines did not have any sentience and were merely searching for a successor. Why would they care about the monkey's life or death? That was the reason for the current situation. The monkey's body expanded gradually with a pained expression that was close to madness. The veins on its neck popped and more blood gushed out from its wounds. However, its life force was weakening continuously. When Xueqi saw that the situation was bad, he hurried forward and released his lotus finger to help stabilize the monkey's injuries. It was also a freak combination of factors. Under normal circumstances, it was extremely difficult to fuse the 4 strongest bloodlines of the ape race. However, Xueqi's lotus finger contained the bloodline of the grade 12 creation Qinglian. Only the bloodline of the grade 12 creation Qinglian had a chance of stabilizing the 4 bloodlines in the monkey's body and resolving the crisis. Of course, this freak combination of factors allowed the monkey to receive the greatest opportunity of its life. Be it the long-armed blood ape, smart stone monkey, 6-eared macaque or red-bone horse monkey, they were all the rarest and strongest bloodlines of the ape race. However, legend has it that there was an ape race above the 4 rare and strong bloodlines. There was only one of them even in the greater world, let alone a middle world. The first ape that was born at the beginning of creation had this bloodline and was known as the Chaos Fiend Ape. Chapter 30-35. After a while, Su Zimo heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the monkey's condition had stabilized. At this moment, the ground started to shake. The surrounding space seemed to be on the verge of collapsing, as if it was experiencing a huge impact. Su Zimo frowned and looked at the excited monkey kings outside. This battle imperial armament had already shattered. The reason why it could last for more than 200 years without being refined by the 3 pinnacle kings was because of the remnant consciousness in the 4 blood pools. Now, the 4 powerful bloodlines had all merged into the monkey's body. The remnant consciousness and memories in the bloodlines were also slowly merging with the monkey. Without the support of the remnant consciousness, this battle imperial armament was like an ownerless item. This gave the Red Sea Monkey King and the others a chance. At the end of the path to heaven, the Red Sea Monkey King and the other kings looked at the swaying battle monarch weapon in front of them. Their eyes flickered with excitement, and their spirits were lifted. Success! The refinement of this battle imperial armament was much smoother than they had imagined. The battle imperial armament was slowly being pulled out of the abyss. As it shook violently, countless dust fell. The 2 words on the body of the battle imperial armament glowed with golden light again. The Red Sea Monkey King and the other 2 peak-tier kings took turns refining this battle imperial armament. Today, Ma Dan Monkey King, one of the 3 pinnacle kings, was refining it. This refinement had almost exhausted all of his Yuan spirit and Grotto Heaven energy. He didn't expect to see the light at the last moment. Brother Ma Dan, if you can't hold on, why don't I do it? Another pinnacle king couldn't help but ask. Haha, thank you for your kind intentions, Brother Mada. I can still hold on. Ma Dan Monkey King laughed. He was about to succeed, and this Mada wanted to reap the benefits. How could he give it to someone else? The Red Sea Monkey King remained calm and didn't say anything. This battle imperial armament was already broken. It would take countless treasures to repair it. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. To him, the true treasures were the inheritances within the battle imperial armament. Ma Dan Monkey King couldn't take them all by himself. If the Ma Dan Monkey King did not know what was good for him and wanted to take it all for himself, then he did not mind making a move and sending him to heaven. Those 2 little bastards think they can escape by hiding inside. They are too naive. Monkey King Ma Dan was in a good mood as he saw that he was about to refine the battle imperial weapon. Although he looked relaxed, most of his attention was focused on the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King behind him. He was afraid that the 2 of them would attack him secretly for the battle monarch weapon. Ma Dan Monkey King chuckled and said, I'd like to see how scared these 2 little beasts will be after I succeed. At this moment, Ma Dan Monkey King suddenly felt a strong sense of danger and was shocked. With a nervous expression, he subconsciously protected the peak Grotto Heaven behind him and looked back. He thought that the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King had attacked him. However, the Red Sea Monkey King and the Mada Monkey King did not move at all. The other Horse Monkey Kings also stood where they were. Ma Dan Monkey King seemed to have sensed something, and his heart skipped a beat. No, this sense of danger did not come from behind, but from in front of him. However, he only had 1 battle imperial weapon in front of him. How could there be danger? At this moment, a green figure seemed to flash in front of him. It was too fast. Ma Dan Monkey King's attention was partially focused on refining the battle imperial weapon and partially focused on the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. Most importantly, refining the battle imperial weapon consumed too much of his primordial spirit and Grotto Heaven power. Not only was his reaction slightly slower, but even his dodging movements were much slower. When experts fought, they usually fought for an instant. Pah! Ma Dan Monkey King wanted to retreat, but Su Zimo rushed out of the battle imperial weapon and was even faster. His attack was as fast as lightning. the Horse Monkey King saw a green figure descend from the sky. The palm landed directly on Ma Dan Monkey King's head, instantly shattering his head into pieces. His primordial spirit was destroyed, and he died on the spot. The Horse Monkey Kings could not react for a moment. They were stunned and shocked. This was a peak king. He was killed by a palm just like that. He did not even have the chance to dodge or counterattack. It's him. The moment the green figure appeared, the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King sensed it and immediately recognized Su Zimo. After all, the two of them had been conserving their energy and were in peak condition. Therefore, they could sense the abnormality immediately. Moreover, the two of them were very close to Ma Dan Monkey King. If the two of them wanted to save him, they might have a chance. However, another thought flashed through their minds at the same time. Borrow a knife to kill. If Su Zimo killed Ma Dan Monkey King, there would be one less person to share the treasures inside. The battle imperial weapon would also fall into their hands. The two of them had a tacit understanding. While they hesitated, Ma Dan Monkey King had already died. Right in front of them, Su Zimo killed him with a single palm strike. Seeing Ma Dan Monkey King die, the two of them were secretly delighted, but they did not reveal anything on the surface. Oh! The Red Sea Monkey King sized up Su Zimo and raised his eyebrows in surprise. He actually entered the Grotto Heaven realm? In just over 200 years, he had found an opportunity to become a king. Of course, his speed was very fast. However, this was not what surprised the Red Sea Monkey King. Instead, it was in this special environment where there was no heaven-earth yuan qi. How did Su Zimo obtain enough strength to break through to the Grotto Heaven realm? Yes, it must be the inheritance and treasures left behind by the Battle Emperor. Thinking of this, the Red Sea Monkey King's heart burned with passion. However, he still did not feel any danger. In his opinion, so what if Su Zimo entered the Grotto Heaven realm? He was only at the initial success stage of the Grotto Heaven realm. He was just an ordinary king. He could casually stomp him to death. How dare you kill my tribesman? Little bastard, you're courting death. An ordinary king of the horse monkey race wanted to show off. He shouted loudly and held up a long staff. He held up a Grotto Heaven and charged aggressively towards Su Zimo. The monkey's transformation was not over yet. If the battle imperial armament was refined by the horse monkey race's king outside, Su Zimo was worried that something else would happen. He had stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm and wanted to try out the methods of the Grotto Heaven realm. He did not hesitate and charged out of the battle imperial armament to kill the nearest king. Su Zimo was about to charge toward the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King when he saw a figure charge out from the side. The other Horse Monkey King stared at him and cursed as he charged over. This Horse Monkey King held a long staff and descended from the sky. He smashed down with the force of a mountain, and the Grotto Heaven behind him suppressed him with an imposing aura. End of chapter. Chapter 30-36. Su Zimo stood on the spot and looked at the incoming Monkey King. At that moment, he had countless methods to release. Melee combat, essence spirit, bloodline, dharma treasures, puppets. However, Su Zimo still chose to release his Grotto Heavens. Although he had successfully condensed 5 Grotto Heavens, he had no idea how much combat strength each Grotto Heavens could unleash or what the situation would be like against other Grotto Heavens. Out of curiosity, Su Zimo propped up a small Grotto Heaven behind him. The small Grotto Heaven was filled with scarlet, green, and purple lights. There were also stars that were bedazzling, lightning flashing, thunder rumbling and torrential rain. An immortal Grotto Heaven. Rumble! What shocked everyone present was that the moment Su Zimo's Grotto Heaven appeared, the Grotto Heaven of the Monkey King in midair began to collapse. It was completely unstoppable and in the blink of an eye, it turned into countless Grotto Heavens. Without the protection of the Grotto Heaven, the Monkey King was riddled with holes by the starlight that burst forth from the Grotto Heaven before he could land and blood gushed out. Before he could escape, another bolt of lightning flashed and landed on his body. The Horse Monkey King was instantly reduced to ashes, not even leaving behind a corpse. All the Monkey Kings subconsciously opened their mouths wide as they stared at the scene with shock on their faces. The difference was way too great. That clansman did not even manage to touch the corner of Su Zimo's robes and was destroyed in both body and spirit while he was still in midair. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, the Monkey Kings would have thought that Su Zimo had condensed a gigantic Grotto Heaven. Although they were both small Grotto Heavens, The grotto heaven of the Monkey King could not even withstand a single blow from Su Zimo's immortal grotto heaven and was as fragile as a piece of paper. They were not the only ones. Even Su Zimo himself was taken aback. However, he composed himself before long. After all, the immortal grotto heavens had a forbidden mystic manual like the 3 pure jade manual as their foundation, and were fused with many top-tier cultivation techniques. Within the grotto heavens, countless powerful Tao runes were nurtured. The grotto heaven released by the Monkey King was merely a small grotto heaven. How could it compare to the immortal grotto heaven? The Red Sea Monkey King frowned and could vaguely sense that Su Zimo was a little troublesome. Kill. The remaining 11 ordinary Monkey Kings reacted quickly and were enraged. They roared and attacked at the same time, releasing their own grotto heavens. Boom, boom, boom. The 11 grotto heavens enveloped the immortal grotto heaven, wanting to crush it. However, the immortal sex grotto heaven did not budge and Su Zimo was unscathed under its protection as well. Not only that, the grotto heavens, but the grotto heavens of the 11 grotto heavens were on the verge of collapse. What? The hearts of the 4 monkey races kings trembled as their expressions turned solemn. Even the 11 grotto heavens, the immortal grotto heaven, the immortal grotto heaven, the red, the heavens, Su. It seemed like this lad had obtained many benefits from the war imperial weapon, and there should be a forbidden secret manual among them. If not for that, the immortal grotto heaven would not be this strong. Crack, 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 crack. Cracks began to appear on the grotto heavens of the 11 ordinary Monkey Kings. The eyes of the Monkey Kings widened in shock. Even though it was the combination of 11 grotto heavens, it seemed like Su Zimo's grotto heaven was suppressing the 11 of them. Boom, 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 boom. Seeing that the situation was bad, the 4 supreme kings hurriedly raised their grotto heavens to suppress it. If they still did not make a move, a few of the ordinary Monkey Kings would die. The 4 grotto heavens appeared at the same time and released an extremely terrifying grotto heaven power that battered the immortal grotto heaven. The Tao runes within the immortal grotto heaven gradually dimmed as it was suppressed. Even so, the foundation of the immortal grotto heaven was still there and it did not crumble. It can still hold on? The 4 supremes' heavens' hearts skipped a beat as the killing intent in their eyes intensified. This human had just entered the grotto heaven realm and his grotto heaven was already so terrifying. If he was allowed to continue cultivating and develop, how terrifying would he be when he reached the next level and formed a grotto heaven? The 4 supremes and 11 ordinaries' grotto heavens made a total of 15 grotto heavens of various sizes. At the same time, they tried to destroy the Tao runes of the immortal grotto heaven and kill Su Zimo. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo's expression was calm. In fact, he did not even try to counterattack. Instead, he carefully sensed the powers within the immortal grotto heaven and compared them. You guys are too weak. Right at this moment, Su Zimo shook his head gently and said indifferently. Immediately after, on the other side of the immortal grotto heaven, the void collapsed eerily in front of everyone and another grotto heaven was formed. The second grotto heaven had appeared. Pest! At the sight of this, even the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King were shocked. This human had actually cultivated 2 grotto heavens after entering the grotto heaven realm. In the second grotto heaven, majestic Buddhas appeared one after another. They placed their palms together and looked down at the 15 Monkey Kings while chanting majestic Sanskrit. Green lotus flowers descended from the sky one after another. On the ground, golden lotus flowers that did not decay surged. Roar! Roar! Beside the Buddhas, divine dragons and divine elephants circled and roared into the sky. Even the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King were shocked by such a phenomenon, let alone the ordinaries and the supremes. What kind of grotto heaven was this? Although their peak grotto heavens were extremely powerful, they did not have such a phenomenon. As the Buddhas appeared, Sanskrit chants reverberated, dragons and elephants roared, flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses surged from the ground. The Buddhist grotto heavens had descended. The Sanskrit chants of the Buddhas and the roars of the dragons and elephants echoed throughout the path to heaven. The 15 Monkey Kings around Su Zimo were the most affected. The 11 ordinary kings at the beginning were already unable to hold on under the impact of the Tao runes of the grotto heaven. They were struggling to make ends meet. As the second Buddhist grotto heaven descended, the 11 smaller grotto heavens collapsed as soon as the Sanskrit chants were heard. Not only them, even the grotto heavens of the 4 supremes were shaking continuously. Their glow dimmed and they were on the verge of collapsing at any moment. Just 2 smaller grotto heavens were already so powerful. We can't let him live. The Red Sea Monkey King grunted. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and propped up his perfection stage grotto heaven. Behind him, a crimson sea of blood appeared with a majestic aura and an unparalleled aura. The power of the grotto heavens was overwhelming. Luckily, the 2 of us are here. The Mada Monkey King also felt fortunate. He said in a deep voice, "We have to kill him today." However, at the next moment, they saw the most unforgettable and shocking scene in their lives. End of chapter. Chapter 30-37. The remaining 17 Horse Monkey Kings attacked at the same time. The Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King propped up a perfected grotto heaven at the same time and surrounded Xueqi. The might of the 2 perfected grotto heavens was extremely ferocious as blood seas surged with torrential waves. Among the living beings of the 10,000 races, there were many that were proficient in fire Dao techniques. However, the strongest were the divine phoenixes and the illumination dragon lineage of dragons. There were also many that were proficient in water Dao techniques. The strongest belonged to the Kuan race. However, as the strongest bloodline of the horse monkey lineage, the Red Sea Monkey King was not only proficient in yin and yang, but also innately close to water Dao techniques. In terms of controlling water, they were not weaker than the Kuan race. Around Xueqi, mist filled the air and covered the skies. It pressed down on the 2 small grotto heavens of the immortal and Buddhist sects. After all, the difference in strength between a perfected grotto heaven and a small grotto heaven was too great. Even though the immortal and Buddhist grotto heavens were formed with taboo secret manuals as their foundations, they could not withstand the impact of a perfected grotto heaven. Furthermore, there were more than 10 ordinary and peerless kings attacking together. Creak, creak, creak. A series of strange sounds came from the immortal and Buddhist grotto heavens. The runes of Dao techniques flickered and even the 3 pure qis gradually dissipated as the stars dimmed. The Buddhas were shrouded in a layer of water vapor as Sanskrit chants were intermittent. Qinglian and Golden Lotus were tainted by the power of the Red Sea Monkey King's grotto heavens and their strength was greatly reduced. The Red Sea that surged in the perfected grotto heaven formed by the Red Sea Monkey King was filthy and evil. It was easy for it to destroy numinous treasures and grotto heavens. The immortal and Buddhist grotto heavens shook violently, as though they would collapse at any moment. The Red Sea Monkey King only relaxed when he saw that the situation was settled. He looked at Xueqi who was trapped in the middle and sneered, "To be able to form 2 grotto heavens, you're indeed impressive and can be said to be unprecedented. Hee, but in my eyes you're still too weak." The Red Sea Monkey King returned that sentence to Xueqi. Mada Monkey King also sneered and said, "There is a huge difference between a small success grotto heaven and a complete grotto heaven. Do you think forming 2 small grotto heavens can make up for this difference?" Facing the mockery of the 2 peak kings, Xueqi's expression was calm as he said indifferently, "Oh, 3 then." The surrounding monkey kings were stunned for a moment, not understanding the meaning behind Xueqi's words. However, there was still a trace of doubt in their hearts. He could not understand how this human could still be so calm and composed under such a situation. There was no hint of panic on his face at all. Boom! Right at this moment, the space around Xueqi collapsed again, and a loud bang sounded. The Red Sea Monkey King's pupils suddenly contracted as it stared at the collapsed space. A terrifying thought flashed through its mind. Could it be the 3rd grotto heaven? How was this possible? It was already unheard of for all living beings of the myriad races to step into a grotto heaven and condense 2 grotto heavens. Could it be that someone could condense 3 grotto heavens? Since ancient times, no one had ever heard of such a situation. The Red Sea Monkey King could not believe it. However, the next moment, under the gazes of the Monkey Kings, Xueqi's 3rd grotto heaven was formed while enduring the suppression of more than 10 grotto heavens of various sizes and perfected grotto heavens. The 12 demon kings reared their heads and roared into the skies with torrential demonic chi and battle intent. There were also the 4 sacred beasts that exuded supreme might as they glared at the surrounding monkey kings with cold gazes. The demon sect grotto heaven had appeared. The moment the 3rd grotto heaven was released, the pressure on the immortal and Buddhist grotto heavens was greatly reduced and they gradually stabilized as well. Of course, the Dao techniques and runes of the 3 grotto heavens were still suppressed against the impact of more than 10 grotto heavens of various sizes and 2 perfected grotto heavens and could not retaliate. Furthermore, The Red Sea Monkey King had the bloodline of the red-bone horse monkey. A perfected grotto heaven that he condensed was far stronger than others of the same cultivation realm and was definitely not easy to deal with. However, this scene was way too shocking. The Red Sea Monkey King, Mada Monkey King and the others were shocked and could not conceal the shock in their eyes. This human had actually condensed 3 grotto heavens after entering the grotto heaven realm. Not just them, if this matter were to spread, it would cause a huge commotion among all the living beings in the 3,000 worlds and cause an uproar. He had just entered the grotto heaven realm and had already condensed 3 grotto heavens to fight against 18 kings, including 4 supreme kings and 2 peak stage kings. This kind of combat strength could not be described as weak. Even the Red Sea Monkey King did not have the confidence to mock him at this moment. Fortunately, the 3 grotto heavens did not pose much of a threat to them. The Red Sea Monkey King heaved a sigh of relief and thought to himself that he was lucky. Fortunately, he had brought more people with him this time. If he had chased after him alone, the outcome would have been hard to predict. The battle intent emanating from Su Zimo's 3rd grotto heaven was familiar to the other Monkey Kings. This battle intent was even stronger than the battle intent on their bodies. More importantly, the demonic chi in this grotto heaven was too dense. Apart from the red-bone horse Monkey King who could resist the bloodline suppression of the 4 sacred beasts, the ordinary Monkey Kings all felt a sense of trepidation and found it difficult to circulate their bloodline. This was what it felt like when one's bloodline was suppressed. Some of the ordinary kings of the horse monkey race looked at Su Zimo with a hint of fear in their eyes. Even the 4 supreme kings had a trace of fear on their faces. Seeing that they were still in control of the situation and had the upper hand, the Mada Monkey King's expression relaxed a little. However, he saw that many Monkey Kings around him were intimidated by the aura of Su Zimo's 3 grotto heavens and couldn't help but feel annoyed. He shouted, 3 grotto heavens are just us. Can a human king with an initial success grotto heaven overturn the heavens? What was weak? Their aura could not be weak. Is that so? Su Zimo raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, then 4 grotto heavens will do. As soon as he finished speaking, the space around him collapsed again. What? The remaining Monkey Kings were shocked as they looked at this scene in disbelief. They were so frightened that they exclaimed. The 4th grotto heaven appeared. Compared to the previous 3 grotto heavens, this grotto heaven didn't make much noise. Instead, it was extremely quiet and lifeless. There were only tombs with swords inserted into the tombs. However, after this grotto heaven appeared, the Monkey Kings present all smelled a strong aura of death. It was as if the tombs in this grotto heaven were prepared for them. There seemed to be a mysterious power that wanted to drag them into the tombs of the grotto heaven and bury them. The Daluo sword tomb descended and the 4 grotto heavens appeared at the same time. The situation immediately reversed. The grotto heavens of the ordinary and supreme kings of the horse monkey race started to shake violently, as if they couldn't bear the pressure and would collapse at any time. Only the Red Sea Monkey King and the Mada Monkey King could still hold on. 4. The Mada Monkey King was so scared that his face turned pale. His lips trembled and his voice trembled. Mada **Cur, shut up. When the Red Sea Monkey King heard the Mada Monkey King speak, he was so scared that his entire body trembled. He cursed and glared at the Mada Monkey King, wanting nothing more than to go up and cover his mouth. Every time the Mada Monkey King mocked, this Su Zimo would create another grotto heaven. If this continued, they would all die here. Unfortunately, the Red Sea Monkey King was still 1 step too slow. 4 grotto heavens won't do. 5 is the best. Su Zimo's voice sounded again. End of chapter. Chapter 30-38. The space around the 4 grotto heavens collapsed again. The 5th grotto heaven appeared. Yin Yang Grotto Heaven. The 5th grotto heaven had just appeared when the normal kings could no longer hold on. The grotto heaven started to collapse. When the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven appeared, the grotto heavens of the 4 kings also collapsed. If it weren't for the Red Sea Monkey King and Mada Monkey King's perfected grotto heavens, which blocked most of the power of the 5 grotto heavens, the normal and peerless kings of the horse monkey tribe would have been killed by Su Zimo's grotto heavens. The 5 grotto heavens around Su Zimo showed all kinds of strange phenomena. Dao runes shone brightly, and his aura was overwhelming. He was like a god. The battle intent of the 11 normal kings of the horse monkey tribe also collapsed with the collapse of the grotto heavens. They didn't want to fight anymore. The longer they stayed here, the more serious their injuries would be. The 11 normal kings of the horse-monkey tribe screamed in panic. They dragged their heavily injured bodies and ran back the way they came. "Don't run!" the Red Sea Monkey King roared. However, their lives were at stake. They couldn't care less about others. In fact, it wasn't just the 11 normal kings. Even he wanted to retreat. The 5 grotto heavens appeared. Ma the Monkey King's perfected grotto heaven was showing signs of collapse. His Red Sea grotto heaven wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The 4 peerless kings of the horse-monkey tribe were also shaken by the situation. They were ready to retreat. Fight! At this moment, a deafening roar came from the end of the path to heaven. It exuded an overwhelming battle intent that soared into the sky. Xueqi finally smiled when he heard this voice. The monkey had come out of seclusion. A tall and burly figure flew out from the thick and huge divine battle weapon. His arms were extremely long, and his eyes were red. He strode past Xueqi and the others and chased after the 11 kings of the horse-monkey tribe. The monkey was very smart. After receiving the inheritance of the Emperor of Battle and the fusion of the 4 bloodlines, his cultivation had reached the peak of the Dongshu stage. He was only a step away from the Grotto Heaven realm. However, it was still a true spirit realm cultivator. Against a peerless king or a peak king, there was almost no chance of victory. Moreover, Xueqi had the upper hand right now. What he needed to do was to stop the 11 ordinary kings from escaping. Actually, Xueqi was planning to go all out and kill the Red Sea Monkey King and the others. At the same time, he would release the 6 Ding and 6 armor gods to chase after the remaining 11 monkey kings. However, when he saw that the monkey had broken out of seclusion, he did not bring out any other means. It wasn't that he held back on purpose, but that the monkey had been suppressing too much anger in his heart for many years. He had only killed a horseshoe monkey tribe member in the Blood Ape tribe and hadn't been able to vent his anger. Now that the monkey had obtained the complete inheritance of the warring emperor and had fused with 4 different bloodlines, his battle prowess had skyrocketed. It was a good opportunity for him to vent his frustrations on the 11 monkey kings that had escaped and test his own battle prowess. If the monkey was in danger, he would still be able to make it in time to help. Although the path to heaven was wide, there were no other directions or forks in the road. There was also no place to hide. The monkey descended from the skies with widened eyes. Suddenly, a 10,000 feet tall war soul appeared behind him and stomped down viciously with the exact same movements as the monkey. The 2 horseshoe monkey kings that were escaping suddenly felt their vision darken. Instinctively, they raised their heads and saw a huge shadow that covered the skies. Shocked, the 2 of them raised their arms to block the attack. Bang! Bang! 2 deafening sounds rang out. The 2 horseshoe monkey kings paused for a moment. The next moment, the sounds of bones cracking could be heard from their bodies as the monkey stomped on them. Their essence spirits were destroyed and they died. As for the monkey, it raised its arms high and its hairy hands that covered the skies seemed to be holding onto something as it smashed towards the few fleeing horseshoe monkey kings. It was a strange scene. There was clearly nothing in the monkey's hands. There was still a distance between him and the fleeing horseshoe monkey kings. If he smashed down like that, he wouldn't be able to injure anyone. However, right then, a violent tremor came from the end of the path to heaven. Rumble! The thick and gigantic pitch-black stone pillar rose from the starry abyss and transformed into a beam of black light. In an instant, it arrived between the monkey's hands. Battle Emperor Weapon. This Battle Emperor weapon was originally incomparably thick like a stone pillar that reached the heavens. However, when it landed in the monkey's hands, it had already shrunk and fit perfectly into the space that the monkey's hands were holding. Just as the monkey descended from the skies and smashed down with both hands, the Battle Emperor weapon landed in his palms. The word battle appeared on the body of the staff and released a dazzling golden light. When the fleeing horseshoe monkey kings turned back and saw this scene, they were scared out of their wits. They hurriedly took out their respective divine weapons and numinous treasures to block this attack. However, even if the Battle Emperor weapon was shattered, it was still indestructible. Coupled with the monkey's bloodline and war soul, the Battle Emperor weapon's combat strength was increased by 8 times in the Battle Emperor universe. It was simply unstoppable and could destroy everything. Bang! There was a deafening sound. 6 ordinary horseshoe monkey kings were smashed into meat paste by the monkey's staff. Blood splattered everywhere and they died. If the 2 sides fought normally, the outcome would be unpredictable and the situation wouldn't have reached such a state. Even if the monkey could win, it would take a lot of effort. However, the group of Horseshoe Monkey King's small grotto heavens were shattered by Xueqi and they lost their strongest weapon. All of them were severely injured and their combat strength was greatly reduced. They couldn't defend against the monkey who had broken out of seclusion with the Battle Emperor weapon and was in peak condition. The monkey came out of seclusion and descended from the skies, trampling 2 ordinary Horseshoe Monkey Kings to death and smashing 6 Horseshoe Monkey Kings to death. In just one move, he killed 8 ordinary Horseshoe Monkey Kings. After landing, Xueqi glanced over and his expression changed as he discovered something strange. Compared to before, the monkey's cultivation realm had increased after this fortuitous encounter. However, this wasn't the greatest change. The greatest change came from his body and appearance. The monkey's figure looked much stronger than before and his arms were longer as well. If one observed carefully, they would be able to see that there was an additional pair of ears on both sides of the monkey's face. There were a total of 4 ears that moved slightly and were extremely agile. Furthermore, the surface of the monkey's body seemed to have turned rough where there was no fur, as though it had turned into stone. The monkey's eyes shone with a scarlet light. However, under the scarlet light, his left and right eyes shone with a black and white brilliance respectively. Are those yin-yang eyes? Xueqi's heart skipped a beat and he could vaguely guess the reason for the monkey's change. There were a total of 11 ordinary Horseshoe Monkey Kings that escaped. Although the monkey killed 8 of them, there were still 3 left. However, the 3 of them were proficient in certain concealment techniques, and made use of spirit treasures and dermic weapons to retract their auras and cover their tracks. End of chapter. Chapter 30-39. Although the tracks of the 3 Monkey Kings were concealed, they could not escape Xueqi's senses. Just as he was about to warn Monkey, he saw Monkey's eyes shining brightly. One of his eyes was black and the other was white, as though he could see through the void and destroy all obstacles. The figure of one of the Horseshoe Monkey Clan Kings immediately appeared in his line of sight. Fight! Monkey hollered and raised the combat imperial weapon, smashing it down towards the Monkey King with a terrifying aura. The Monkey King used a secret skill to conceal his tracks and was slowly moving into the distance silently. He did not expect that he would be exposed so quickly. A thunderous roar sounded in his ears and the Monkey King could not help but feel shocked. If he reacted too slowly, he was smashed to death by Monkey's cudgel. Just as the monkey attacked the Horseshoe Monkey King, another figure appeared behind him. It was another Horseshoe Monkey King. When that person saw that his tribesmen could not escape Monkey's pursuit even if they hid their tracks, he decided to take a risk and risk it all. As long as he could kill this monkey, he would have a chance of survival. Monkey smashed his cudgel towards the Monkey King in front. Behind him, another Monkey King appeared and raised his cudgel as well, smashing it towards Monkey's head. The 2 of them attacked at almost the same time. Although the Monkey King lost his grotto heaven and was severely injured with his body on the verge of collapse, his eyesight was still present. The timing of his attack was impeccable and could be said to be perfect. By the time Monkey smashed the Monkey King in front to death, it was already too late to dodge and could only tilt its head slightly. Clang! The cudgel smashed heavily on Monkey's shoulder with a deafening sound. The sound was a little strange. It did not sound like it had struck flesh. Instead, it sounded like it had struck an incomparably tough rock. The Monkey King's arms trembled and his cudgel bounced high into the air. He could not hold on to it and his hands turned numb with a shocked expression. Monkey staggered from the impact and grimaced in pain. However, his eyes were filled with excitement. A tuft of hair on his shoulder was knocked off, revealing his coarse skin that was almost petrified. Although that cudgel caused him great pain, it did not injure his tendons and bones. The yin-yang eyes released earlier on were the inheritance of the red-bone horse monkey bloodline. The secret skill that petrified flesh earlier on was inherited from the intelligent stone monkey. Of course, the main reason was that the horse Monkey King had lost his grotto heaven. His vitality was severely depleted, and his battle prowess was greatly weakened. Otherwise, the monkey wouldn't have dared to take the blow with his body. He had indeed received the memories of the 4 strongest bloodlines of the ape clan, but he had yet to fully digest them and cultivate them to the great accomplishment stage. Hee hee! The monkey turned his head and grinned at the Horseshoe Monkey King. He rushed forward, his blood and chi surging as he swung his cudgel and attacked. With just a few strikes, the Horse Monkey King could no longer hold on and was smashed into pieces, turning into a corpse on the spot. There was only one Monkey King left. Monkey activated his yin-yang eye and surveyed the surroundings, but he did not discover anything unusual. However, his 4 ears twitched slightly, as if he had caught something. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, and his figure was extremely agile. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived beside a pile of bones. The monkey stretched out his hand, and with a loud boom, he pierced through the pile of bones and directly grabbed the last ordinary Monkey King. Caw caw! Monkey roared in laughter and grabbed the person by the throat with one hand while swinging his cudgel with the other. He smashed the head of the Monkey King and his essence spirit was destroyed, killing him on the spot. This pursuit took an extremely short period of time and could be said to be clean and efficient without any hesitation. However, a battle of a higher cultivation realm could not prove anything. After all, more than half of the combat strength of the 11 Monkey Kings had been crippled by Xueqi. However, the methods that Monkey had revealed just now were truly shocking. At the end of the path to ascension, the Red Sea Monkey King and the others who were suppressed by Xueqi's 5 grotto heavens were shocked when they realized what had happened. What had they just seen? The Sanguine Ape had released the legacy secret skills of the long-armed Blood Ape, Red-Bone Horse Monkey, 6-eared Macaque and Wise Stone Monkey consecutively in a short span of 10 breaths. How was that possible? What made their hearts skip a beat was that their cultivation realms were clearly far above that of the true self-realm monkey. However, when the monkey released his chi and blood, they had an urge to submit and worship him. It was as though it was an imprint that came from the depths of their souls and bloodlines and was difficult to resist. When they met Monkey's gaze, they felt as though they were facing a superior being. Something big has happened. The Red Sea Monkey King was no longer shocked. Instead, he felt a sense of fear and trepidation. The 5 grotto heavens before him were already enough to make his scalp tingle. What was up with this monkey that had just appeared? Run! The Red Sea Monkey King could no longer care about his dignity as he growled and channeled his bloodline to its limits, releasing his bloodline phenomenon and cooperating with the Red Sea grotto heavens in an attempt to escape this place. Do you think you can escape? Xueqi said indifferently when he sensed the Red Sea Monkey King's intentions. Just now, he was mostly focused on Monkey and did not use his strength because he was worried that something would happen to the latter. Now that he saw that the Red Sea Monkey King wanted to escape, he channeled his essence spirit and the 5 grotto heavens spewed out endless Tao techniques and runes in a bedazzling manner that surged down like a tsunami. Boom! The perfected grotto heaven of the Mad Monkey King could not withstand it and collapsed instantly. The figures of the 4 peerless kings were also drowned by the Tao techniques and runes released by the 5 grotto heavens. Accompanied by tragic cries, their flesh and bones were destroyed and turned into dust. The Mad Monkey King was a peak-tier king after all and had a strong bloodline and physique. However, he did not last long when the 5 grotto heavens exploded at the same time and he died within. A few new graves were added to the Zenith Sword Tomb. The Red Sea Monkey King was already trapped by the 5 grotto heavens and the power of the grotto heavens spread and destroyed everything. It would be extremely fortunate if he could last more than 10 breaths, let alone escape. After breaking out of seclusion, Xueqi had just entered his grotto heavens and had not used them to fight against kings. Therefore, he did not release the 5 grotto heavens right away. Instead, he released them one by one and slowly sensed the improvements and changes that each grotto heaven brought to him. Now that Monkey had obtained an opportunity and escaped danger, he did not intend to tangle with the Red Sea Monkey King. The 5 grotto heavens unleashed their power at the same time and Tao techniques and runes surged out endlessly. There were thousands of streaks of multicolored light and thousands of streaks of auspicious colors. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Buddhas and dragons appeared. Sanskrit chants reverberated and demons roared. For sages covered the sky and sword tombs stood in great numbers. Yin and yang fused. The power of the 5 grotto heavens erupted at the same time and the phenomena were too terrifying. The Red Sea Monkey King's bloodline phenomenon collapsed the moment it was released. No matter how filthy and evil the sea of blood in the perfected grotto heaven behind him was, it could not withstand it at this moment and rapidly dried up, destroyed by countless Tao techniques and runes. The Red Sea Monkey King's face was pale and he seemed to want to say something. However, as his Red Sea grotto heaven collapsed, his body was also torn apart by the 5 grotto heavens. His soul dissipated and he died. The 18 horse Monkey Kings chased after him from the Blood Ape world. After more than 280 years, they were all wiped out and not a single one of them survived. These horse Monkey Kings who had submitted to the Heaven Reverence world died on the path to heaven. It was as if everything was predestined. There is only one update today. Everyone, sleep early. End of this chapter. Chapter 30-40. The 4 bloodlines have already fused? Xueqi asked. Monkey scratched his head. They should have. Furthermore, I seem to have awakened something in the depths of my mind and obtained some even more ancient inheritance memories. Xueqi nodded to himself. In other words, apart from the wise stone monkey, long-armed blood ape, 6-eared macaque and red-bone horse monkey, Monkey had obtained some other inheritances as well. Monkey's situation should not be limited to just the fusion of 4 bloodlines. The fusion of 4 bloodlines seemed to have caused an even more mysterious change in Monkey. The bloodline aura emanating from Monkey gave Xueqi a sense of déjà vu. Back then, his second disciple, Carefree, released a similar might when his bloodline erupted in the land of Yin Yang and released the Kuan Peng diagram. Even the rank 12 creation Qinglian trembled. According to the Earth Kuan King, this seemed to be a sign of bloodline reverting. Of course, Monkey's bloodline was clearly not completely fused. At the very least, he only had 4 ears. If it was completely fused, he should be able to conjure 6 ears that could listen to everything in the world. With a single thought from the monkey, the shattered battle monarch weapon instantly shrunk to the size of a needle. He tossed it into his ear and it disappeared without a trace. Although the battle imperial weapon was shattered, it was a treasure left behind by the battle emperor after all. If it was nurtured in Monkey's grotto heaven in the future and refined, it might be able to recover to its peak. Both of them gained a lot from this battle and cleaned up the battlefield briefly before heading in the direction of the path to heaven. They arrived before the black hole in the cosmos. As long as they left this place, the 2 of them would return to the middle world. Suddenly, Monkey stopped in his tracks and turned around, looking at the corpses on the path to heaven in silence. Those corpses belonged to the ancestors of the blood ape world. Monkey had always been carefree and unrestrained. However, at this moment, there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. A moment later, Monkey suddenly said, I saw some fragmented images in the bloodline inheritance that I obtained. They were related to the battle back then. Xueqi did not say anything and merely listened quietly. The Fiend Master mentioned many things about the War of the Heavens that lasted for several eras. However, there was no mention of the Emperor of Dozhan. Wu Dao's original body didn't have time to ask. The monkey said, back then, Senior Dozhan used the Dozhan Dao art to forcefully open up this path to the heavens. He wanted to reach the heavens and slaughter his way into the heavens. On the path to the heavens, he encountered many obstacles. He led his clansmen through bloody battles. Not only did they pass through the celestial tribute world, but even the monarchs from Great Sky couldn't stop them. Later on, the Great Emperor of Great Sky took action. Great Emperor Jun Tian. According to the Devil Lord, he was one of the 9 great emperors of the heavenly court. Monkey revealed a look of reminiscence and said slowly, the 2 of them were fighting on the heavenly road. Senior Dozhan was always at a disadvantage, but in the end, Senior Dozhan released the final move of the Dozhan catalog. At this point, the monkey paused and his tone gradually became serious. He said word by word, with this move, Senior Dozhan defeated the great emperor of the Great Sky continent and the path to heaven was broken because of this. Xueqi's mind was shaken, and he couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. The path to heaven was broken, and the emperor of Dozhan had died and left behind his inheritance. He had seen all of this with his own eyes. However, he had never expected that the emperor of Dozhan would actually defeat a great emperor of the 9 heavens in the War of the Heavens. According to the Demon Lord, the 9 great emperors of the heavens came from the great 1,000 domains and were all above great emperors. Even in the middle world, they were restricted by the laws of heaven and earth and their cultivation was greatly weakened. However, their combat strength was still extraordinary. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to rely on the 9 great emperors to seal and suppress the 3,000 domains for several epochs and win the War of the Heavens time and time again. Even so, the Emperor of Dozhan had still defeated a great emperor. Xueqi suddenly thought of another matter. According to the scene the monkey saw, the Great Sky Emperor had already died in the War of Dozhan era. However, in the next epoch, which was the All-Heaven epoch, the heavens still had 9 great emperors. This point also confirmed what the Devil Lord had said. He and the 9 great emperors of the heavens all had endless lifespans and would never die. In other words, the Great Sky Emperor had indeed been killed by the Emperor of Dozhan. However, the Great Sky Emperor would still come back to life and recover his Great Emperor cultivation. He would then enter the Great Sky Emperor and oversee the heavens. It was also because of this that the Emperor of Avicii didn't kill the Great Sky Emperor and the Lord of Hell. This was because he knew that he couldn't completely kill the two of them with his own strength. Killing the two of them would instead give them a chance to come back to life. If he imprisoned the two of them in the Avicii hell and made them suffer endless pain, in a sense, he would have killed the two of them. The demon lord didn't tell him the secret of eternal life. Perhaps the answer could only be found in the Great Thousand Domains. Xueqi gradually gathered his thoughts and looked at the end of the path to heaven. He sighed in his heart. Although the Emperor of Dozhan had killed the Great Sky Emperor, he couldn't ascend to the heavens. He could only leave his inheritance on the path to heaven and wait for his descendants. The last move of the battle catalogue was indeed terrifying. However, Xueqi's cultivation realm wasn't high enough and he couldn't comprehend its mysteries. The two of them stood solemnly and silently looked at the path to heaven that was covered with corpses and blood. It was as if they could see countless blood apes roaring and roaring. The two of them had respectful expressions on their faces as they bowed deeply before cupping their fists in farewell. In the vast starry sky. "Big brother, where are we going next?" the monkey asked. After leaving the blood ape realm this time, he didn't plan to return for the time being. He had killed the horseshoe monkeys in the blood ape realm. If he returned to the blood ape realm, he might bring trouble to the blood ape realm. Xueqi did have a place in mind. This time, he left the sword realm and his first stop was the blood ape realm. He wanted to check on the monkey's situation. His second stop was this place. Xueqi was about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have sensed something and looked at the starry sky on the other side. There was nothing there, but Xueqi's eyes were fixed on it with a solemn expression. A moment later, the starry sky suddenly split open and an old ape walked out. An Emperor Realm expert. The moment the old ape appeared, Xueqi felt a tremendous pressure. This was clearly the aura and might of an Emperor Realm expert. Thankfully, Xueqi did not sense any hostility from the old ape nor did he sense any danger. The monkey had never seen this old ape before. However, he could tell that the old ape should be from the blood ape realm and had the bloodline of the long-armed blood ape. Given his original cultivation, he did not have much of a chance to come into contact with the old ape. "The two of you are truly lucky to be able to escape the pursuit of more than 10 kings. The old ape heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the two of them were fine. The black hole in the starry sky isolated everything, and the old ape clearly did not know about the situation on the path to heaven. Ever since the two horseshoe monkey emperor lords of the blood ape realm left, the old ape set off immediately to search for Monkey and the monkey. A long time later, he sensed an abnormal spatial fluctuation and descended, bumping into Xueqi and the monkey. For some unknown reason, the old ape clearly felt something amiss when he saw Monkey. It was as though his bloodline was suppressed and he felt uncomfortable. Strange, the old ape was puzzled. There was a huge difference in cultivation between the two of them. Even if there was a suppression, it was the monkey opposite him. The old ape swept his gaze and suddenly fixed his gaze on Monkey's ears. Immediately after, his eyes widened in disbelief. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 30-41. 4 ears? Monkey's second pair of ears had yet to grow completely and were relatively smaller. If one did not check carefully, they might not be visible under the cover of his fur. However, the old ape noticed the abnormality of Monkey's bloodline and took a few more glances. This time he was shocked. It was clear that the bloodline of the 6-eared macaque had been awakened. However, according to what he knew, Monkey had already awakened the bloodline of the long-armed blood ape. In other words, the two bloodlines appeared in Monkey's body at the same time and coexisted without conflict. This was something that had never happened since ancient times. Even the Dozhan emperor of the past was only a long-armed blood ape. Good. The old ape looked at Monkey and nodded repeatedly with joy and gratification in his eyes. In this generation, the blood ape world was suppressed and bullied by the heaven tribute world. In order to protect the bloodline of the ape race, he had no choice but to give in. From that moment on, the members of the blood ape world no longer had the fighting spirit of the past and were dispirited. That was the reason why the old ape lamented when he saw Monkey endure for so many years just to kill the paragon true spirit of the horse monkey lineage on the battle platform. Even after so many years of suppression, Monkey's fighting spirit could not be wiped away. But now that the old ape sensed the bloodline in Monkey's body, he felt that the sacrifice of his dignity and everything he had done was worth it. You fused with the bloodline of the 6-eared macaque. You have to cherish it. The old ape took out a jade scroll and placed it on his glabella, imprinting a mnemonic before handing it to Monkey and saying in a deep voice, "This is a secret technique that can help you hide your second pair of ears. You have to be careful and not expose yourself easily." Although Monkey had never met the old ape, he could sense the goodwill in the latter's heart. In the old ape's eyes, he saw a hint of encouragement, anticipation and gratification. "Thank you, Senior." Monkey received it hurriedly and bowed in gratitude. The old ape waved it off and smiled. "It's just some tricks. You've obtained the inheritance memories of the long-armed blood ape and six-eared macaque bloodlines. Those are your true capabilities. You don't have a Dao title yet. From this day forth, Dojan will be your Dao title." Ah! Monkey was shocked. The Taoist name Dojan had many meanings in the blood ape world. It represented supreme glory. Ever since Emperor Dojan, only the realm lord of the blood ape realm, or the strongest person in the blood ape realm, had the right to be titled Dojan. Monkey was carefree and unruly by nature. At that moment, he did not dare to accept the Taoist title of Dojan. The old ape seemed to have read the monkey's mind. "Since you've obtained the Dojan Emperor's inheritance and the Dojan Imperial weapon, you are the Dojan blood ape of this generation." The old ape did not know the situation on the path to heaven, but he could roughly guess the situation when he saw the battle monarch weapon hidden in the monkey's ear. The old macaque continued, "I've been given this Taoist name for many years, and I've long been ashamed of it. Today, I've finally found a suitable successor." Su Zimo's expression changed slightly. By saying that, the old ape's identity was obvious. "Little friend, thank you for your help this time." The elder ape looked at Su Zimo and cupped his hands in thanks. It was rare for an imperial emperor to treat an immortal king in such a manner. The old ape was truly grateful towards Su Zimo. Back then, he was being watched by the two-horse monkey emperors and could not make a move. Initially, he had planned to give up on Monkey. If not for Su Zimo, this clansman with the Tongbi and six-eared bloodlines would have died in the blood ape realm. At that time, it would be too late for regrets. Su Zimo hurriedly returned the greeting. "Senior, you're too kind. Monkey and I have been brothers for many years. Naturally, I won't watch him suffer. Little friend, I have another request." The old ape pondered for a moment and pointed at Monkey. "There are two-horse monkey emperors watching over the blood ape realm. Now that something like this has happened, I'm afraid he won't be able to return in the future. I can only ask you to take care of him." Ever since the two-horse monkey emperors left, the old ape had left as well to search for Monkey's whereabouts in the vast cosmos. He did not know the situation in the great desolate world. In his opinion, there was no suspense in that battle. The two-horse monkey emperors would return to the blood ape realm soon. "With me around, I'll naturally be able to protect him." Su Zimo's tone was firm. Thereafter, he thought for a moment and said, "Senior, you don't have to worry too much. The two-horse monkey emperors shouldn't be able to return." The old ape frowned, not understanding what Su Zimo meant. He did not ask further and merely treated it as a casual remark from Su Zimo. What could this young man know when he had just entered the grotto heaven realm? The old ape sighed. "It's nothing if it's just two-horse monkey emperors. However, the celestial tribute world behind them is way too troublesome. Little friend, you killed someone from the celestial tribute world in the blood ape realm. You must be careful in the future." "Celestial tribute world?" Su Zimo raised his brow slightly and suddenly chuckled. "They should be busy with their own affairs right now and won't have the time to bother about me." The celestial tribute world had lost dozens of emperor lords and suffered heavy losses. Who would care about the few dead grotto heaven kings of the blood ape realm? The old ape was even more confused. What nonsense was this young man spouting? Why would the celestial tribute world be busy with their own affairs? The old ape looked at Su Zimo and said earnestly, "Little friend, you're still young and might not know much about the celestial tribute world. The celestial tribute world can monitor the living beings of the 3,000 worlds. Their strength and foundation cannot be underestimated. Little friend, you must not underestimate them." "You're right, Senior." Su Zimo nodded and did not say anything else. "Where do you guys plan to go from now on?" the old ape asked. Su Zimo replied in a deep voice, "We might go to other worlds and look for some old friends." The old ape thought for a moment and said, "That's good too. However, some of the worlds are in war right now. It's better for you guys to avoid them. For example, the war between the two super great worlds, the Kuan Pang and the Dragon and Phoenix races. The war between the dragons and phoenixes isn't over yet. Xueqi asked with a frown. The old ape shook his head. The Dragon World and Parasol World are both super great worlds as well. The war has already broken out and hundreds of worlds of various sizes are involved. The situation is extremely tragic. The Dragon World and Parasol World would be on good terms with some super great worlds and high-level worlds. They also had some middle-level and low-level worlds under them. Once a war broke out, many worlds would be forced to participate. The old ape continued, based on what I know, some worlds have already been destroyed and some living beings have been wiped out. Over the years, there have even been Imperial Lord experts from the Parasol World and Dragon World who have died one after another. Xueqi was secretly shocked. Even Imperial Lord experts were dead. To think that the war between the two races would reach such an extent. Although the bloodline strength of dragons stood at the peak of all living beings, there were very few dragons. Not to mention the death of an imperial monarch of the dragon race, even the death of a king of the dragon race was a huge loss to the dragon race. For the two super great worlds, it was probably a situation where they would fight to the death. The old ape continued, a war between worlds of this level is extremely cruel. Even the kings of Grotto Heavens might not be able to survive if they're caught in it. A look of worry flashed through Xueqi's eyes when he heard that. End of chapter. Chapter 30-42. The old ape instructed the two of them before returning to the sanguine ape world. Monkey seemed to have sensed the worry in Xueqi's heart and asked, "Do you have any old friends in the dragon world?" Xueqi nodded. Long Ran. Long Ran was also the red-headed ghost of Tianhuang mainland. The reason why Xueqi was able to stand at the peak of Tianhuang mainland was because the red-headed ghost helped him immensely and even saved his life. In fact, the red-headed ghost was partly responsible for the existence of the dragon phoenix true body. Although Xueqi often referred to Long Ran as the red-headed ghost, he was actually extremely respectful towards the latter. In Xueqi's heart, Long Ran was both a master and a father. He was not just an old friend of Tianhuang mainland. Therefore, when he met Long Li on the Dragon Abyss planet, he took the initiative to ask about the red-headed ghost and hoped that the Long Li could take care of him. After leaving the Sword World this time round, the first thing he thought of was to look for Monkey and the second was the red-headed ghost. Right now, Night Spirit was nowhere to be found. Yun Zhu had always been in contact with Yun Ting and had once revealed Xiaoning's situation to Xueqi through Yun Ting. Xiaoning was currently in the red firmament immortal domain of the heaven realm and everything was going smoothly without any major issues. Although Xueqi missed her, he was not worried. One day, he would return to the heaven realm and settle some grudges. As for the red-headed ghost, although he had Long Li to take care of him in the dragon world, if he was in the midst of a war between the dragon and phoenix, a king of a grotto heaven like him could die at any moment. A war between superworlds would most likely be precarious as well. Now that he heard that the war between the dragon and phoenix was so tragic, he was even more worried about the red-headed ghost situation. Monkey knew how important the red-headed ghost was to Xueqi and said, "Let's go, let's head to the dragon world. I haven't seen a war between realms before. It's a good opportunity to experience it and test out my methods." "Of course we have to go to the dragon world," Xueqi said in a deep voice. "However, we don't have to interfere in the war between the dragon and phoenix. If possible, let's just take the red-headed ghost away." This battle between the dragons and the phoenixes had been going on for many years, and he had no idea what the cause was. Moreover, under the circumstances that even imperial monarchs from both sides had perished in this realm war, it was already a situation where only one side would stop until the other was annihilated. There was no room for negotiation at all. Xueqi knew his own limits. At the very least, with the cultivation base of Qinglian's true body, she wouldn't be able to affect the overall situation even if she were to participate. He only had a single objective for heading to the dragon world this time round, and that was to bring the red-headed ghost away from the danger zone. The old ape sped through the spatial tunnel at an extremely fast speed. Thinking about it, he had been out for quite some time. He had to return before the two-horse monkey emperor monarchs returned. Only then would there be no other trouble. After all, the old ape was a peak imperial emperor. In less than 4 hours, he had already returned to the blood ape realm. As soon as he arrived before the cave abode, another blood ape imperial monarch welcomed him with an extremely shocked expression. There was even a wisp of shock in his eyes as he said in a low voice, "Sector Lord, something big has happened." The old macaque's heart sank, and it quickly asked, "Have the two macaques returned?" "No." The blood ape imperial monarch shook his head and swallowed his saliva. "They probably won't be able to return." The old ape frowned. He seemed to have heard that just now. "What do you mean?" The old ape frowned and asked. The blood ape imperial monarch grinned and said, "There's a huge battle in the great wilderness domain. The celestial tribute domain and the faction behind them sent out 100 imperial monarchs to besiege the blood butterfly demon empress." "I know about that." The old ape was a little impatient and interrupted. "The two macaques also went. Although the blood butterfly demon empress is invincible, she can't stop 100 imperial monarchs. She's doomed." "What do you mean by they won't be able to return?" "Sector Lord, you've guessed wrong." The blood ape imperial monarch seemed to be extremely agitated at the mention of that. His voice trembled as he said, "More than half of the 100 imperial monarchs from the celestial tribute domain were killed or injured. They returned in defeat." "What?" The old ape was shocked and exclaimed. "That blood butterfly has become a great emperor?" The old ape blurted out, but he immediately denied it. "No, that's impossible. There will definitely be a phenomenon when one becomes a great emperor. All living beings will sense it. It's Araki Takashi." The blood ape imperial monarch said. Araki Takashi returned in time. He suppressed 100 imperial monarchs by himself and was invincible. More than 10 peak imperial monarchs died. The two macaques also died at the hands of Araki Takashi. The old ape subconsciously opened his mouth and eyes wide when he heard that. His mind was in turmoil and he couldn't calm down for a long time. More than half of the 100 imperial monarchs were killed or injured. More than 10 peak imperial monarchs had died. The celestial tribute domain was defeated. And it was a crushing defeat. On one hand, the old ape was shocked by Araki Takashi's terrifying combat strength. On the other hand, he felt an indescribable joy when he learned that the celestial tribute domain had suffered a crushing defeat and that the two macaques had died. It was as if the emotions that he had suppressed for many years were all vented at this moment. "Good, good." After some time, the old macaque only repeated the word "good" repeatedly. "There's more." The blood ape imperial monarch continued. "More than 200 years ago, the Red Sea Monkey King and the others who chased after Yuan Huang and that sword cultivator have been returning all these years. Not long ago, the macaque race sent news that the soul jades of the 18 kings have shattered." The old ape's eyes lit up. The shattering of the soul jades meant that the 18 Grotto Heaven kings were dead. Just now. Monkey didn't say much about the situation of the two of them. He only mentioned briefly that the two of them were trapped in a black hole in space for more than 200 years and obtained the inheritance of the Dojan Emperor by chance. The old ape thought that the Red Sea Monkey King and the others had lost them and didn't ask much. He didn't expect all 18 kings of the macaque race to be dead. Based on the timing, could the deaths of the Red Sea Monkey King and the others be related to the two of them? Impossible. Judging from Su Zimo's aura, he had just entered the Grotto Heaven realm. How could he have killed the Red Sea Monkey King and the other kings? Something must have happened. The old ape shook his head gently and stopped thinking about it. After all, compared to the battle at Great Wilderness Domain, the deaths of the 18 macaque kings were nothing. It was only at this moment that he understood the meaning behind Su Zimo's earlier words. All of a sudden, the old ape's expression changed as though he thought of something. Something was wrong. According to Monkey, the two of them were trapped in that black hole in space for more than 200 years and had just come out of seclusion. How did Su Zimo know about the death of the Emperor Lord and the crushing defeat of the celestial tribute world? The old ape frowned with a puzzled expression. Emperor Lord, with the deaths of kings one after another, the macaque race is already in a mess. Coupled with the crushing defeat of the celestial tribute world, they probably won't care about them anymore, the blood ape Emperor Lord said with a smile. At the mention of this, a bloody glint flashed through the old ape's eyes. "We can make use of this opportunity to settle old scores with those macaques," the old ape said slowly with a sinister tone, sweeping away his lethargy. Given the old ape's abilities and methods, he could use this opportunity to regain control of the blood ape world and break free from the surveillance and restrictions of the celestial tribute world. However, the old ape still didn't intend to let Monkey return. The upheaval of the 3,000 worlds had already occurred and a great war was about to begin. Many years ago, he let go of his dignity and chose to lower his head to the celestial tribute world. This time, he was going to hold his head high and never return. Unyielding, resisting and fighting against the heavens. That was the glory of the Blood Ape race. If they lost, Monkey would be the future hope of the Blood Ape world. Chapter 3043. The war between dragons and phoenixes lasted for many years. At the beginning of the war, it was only a small-scale conflict with both sides winning and losing. However, it didn't take long for the war to escalate, expand, and spread. It involved hundreds of realms and even other super big realms. At first, the war was in a stalemate. As time passed, the number of experts from the various races who stood on the side of the dragon world decreased, causing the situation to gradually change. The dragons gradually showed signs of defeat. Some of the large and small worlds that they had conquered also broke away from the control of the dragon world. They either chose to join the Wutong world or leave. As a superworld like the Blood world joined the battlefield, the Tomb world, Poison world, Bone world, and other powerful worlds that had risen in recent years also stood on the side of the Wutong world. The dragons were defeated one after another. Both sides even had a war between emperors and suffered heavy losses. However, because the number of dragons was small and they did not have any helpers, the impact of this loss on the dragons was even greater. The dragon world had the Horned Dragon Domain, Azure Dragon Domain, Chi Dragon Domain, Torch Dragon Domain, and Ing Dragon Domain. The 5 dragon domains were connected and formed a powerful coiling dragon formation. Now, all the dragons had retreated to the dragon world and relied on this formation to defend. Su Zimo and Monkey rushed over and heard a lot of news about the war between dragons and phoenixes. Both of them heard many rumors about the cause of this war. On this day, according to the guidance of the Starry Sky map, Su Zimo and Monkey had already arrived near the dragon world and left the spatial tunnel. The moment they arrived in the Starry Sky, a strong smell of blood assaulted them, suffocating them. The two of them looked over and could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but a glaring blood red. There was blood everywhere and the original color of the Starry Sky could no longer be seen. Back then, when Su Zimo and the people of the Sword World were on their way to the Celestial Tribute World for the first time, they had encountered the destruction of the 7-star Sword World. Billions of living beings died tragically and their blood condensed, forming an extremely shocking blood river in the Starry Sky. But now, the vast Starry Sky had been dyed into a boundless sea of blood. How many people have died? Monkey grinned and took a deep breath. After all, Su Zimo had traveled through the 3,000 worlds before. The knowledge of his 2 true bodies far surpassed others. But after the monkey ascended, he had always stayed in the Blood Ape world, so he had never seen such a scene. The two of them traveled for nearly half a day. The starry sky beneath their feet was dyed red. It was easy to imagine how intense the battle back then had been. This was the war between super great worlds. It was cruel and bloody. The lives of tens of thousands of living beings were as worthless as grass under the engulfment of war. In order to form such a boundless sea of blood, the number of living beings that had died was uncountable. The battle between the two sides is indeed very meticulous. As Monkey walked, he mumbled, "To think that there aren't any corpses on the battlefield despite fighting to this extent. Even severed limbs are rarely seen." Su Zimo frowned. Generally speaking, after a great battle, there would be people cleaning up the battlefield and collecting the treasures left behind. However, it was indeed rare for a battlefield to be cleared to such an extent. Where is the Dragon Realm? Why can't I see any traces of it? After searching for half a day, Monkey gradually grew impatient. "It's right ahead." Su Zimo looked into the distance with a shimmering gaze. The surrounding blood flowed to the front as though it was blocked by something and could not continue spreading. If Su Zimo's guess was right, the Dragon Realm was right ahead. Due to the coiling dragon formation that enveloped the entire territory of the Dragon Realm, the sea of blood beneath their feet could not flow over. Right now, the battle between the dragons and phoenixes had yet to end. Although the two of them did not have any enmity, it was not appropriate for them to barge in rashly. "Is anyone there?" Monkey stood outside the dragon world and shouted, "We brothers have come to the dragon world to visit an old friend." During this period of time, there would definitely be dragons patrolling the Dragon Realm. Not long after the two of them arrived, they attracted the attention of a few dragons. All of a sudden, a series of ripples appeared in the void ahead like a water curtain. "What are you shouting for? Close in." The water curtain parted and two dragons walked out. Wearing battle armor and wielding long spears, they glared at Monkey with unfriendly expressions and hollered, "What are you saying? Monkey raised his brow with a ferocious gaze. But soon, he recalled the purpose of their visit and endured it. He merely smacked his lips and ignored the two dragons. Of the two dragons before him, one was at True Self realm while the other was at Divine Essence realm. Given Monkey's current combat strength, the two dragons were truly not worthy of his attention. Humph! The true dragon looked at Xueqi and Monkey. Even though he sensed Xueqi's Grotto Heaven realm cultivation, there was no fear on his face. He sized them up with disdain and curled his lips. We dragons won't befriend weak foreign races like you. Who knows what you two foreign races are up to by sneaking into the dragon realm? That's right. The Divine Essence realm dragons sneered as well. Dragons don't have an old friend like you. How can a wild monkey and a human be worthy of befriending dragons? Xueqi frowned as he listened. When did dragons become like this? Monkey had long disliked the two of them. At this moment, he could no longer hold it in and cursed. Dragons are only a... Looking at your faces, I know that the rumors are true. Serves you right for your defeat. What did you say? This sentence immediately poked the Dragon Clan's sore spot, and the two Dragon Clan's expressions changed. Where did this wild monkey come from to behave atrociously in our dragon realm? Instantly, the true dragon's killing intent surged as he said coldly, "The two of you are behaving suspiciously. I think you must be spies sent by the Wutong world." Before he finished his sentence, the true dragon had already attacked. Even with a Grotto Heaven king like Xueqi beside him, the true dragon had no qualms. Bang! The moment the true dragon charged forward, he was sent flying by Monkey's punch. Spitting out blood. His hair was disheveled and he was in an extremely wretched state. After fusing 4 bloodlines, Monkey could suppress ordinary dragons in melee combat. With a shocked expression, the true dragon turned and retreated into the dragon realm without hesitation. The reason why he was fearless was because of the coiling dragon formation behind him. If he sensed that something was amiss, he could enter the formation by taking a step back. If an outsider were to barge into the dragon realm, they would definitely trigger the coiling dragon formation. Even a peak king would not be able to defend against the killing power of the coiling dragon formation, let alone an ordinary human. However, the moment the true dragon turned around, he caught sight of a person standing before him. It was that human. He was only a single step away from the dragon realm. But it was this one step's distance that he couldn't go back. The human did not attack and had a calm expression without any hostility. However, he felt an unstoppable pressure. He could not move at all in front of this human. The Heavenly Essence Dragon was rooted to the spot with a panicked expression as well. "Don't be afraid, I won't kill you," Xueqi said slowly with a gentle tone. For some reason, the two dragons felt an uncontrollable fear in their hearts when they heard that. In front of this human, even their bloodlines that they were proud of seemed to be suppressed. How was that possible? Right then, the human said indifferently, "Head to the Chi Dragon region and inform Long Li that Xueqi is here to visit." Chapter 3044. Xueqi? Why does this name sound so familiar? The true dragon seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened as he blurted out, "Sword Realm Xueqi, the #1 true spirit." He was only a Kongming true dragon. He didn't have the chance to follow the Hui Dragon King to the Celestial Tribute Realm, so he naturally hadn't seen Xueqi before. However, Sword Realm Xueqi had been too famous in the 3,000 worlds in recent years. She was even known as the #1 true spirit since ancient times. However, it was rumored that Xueqi was the #1 true spirit, while the one in front of him was a cave heavenly king, so he didn't immediately react. Xueqi didn't make things difficult for the two. He released the spiritual sense suppression on the two dragons and let them return to the dragon realm. The true dragon returned to the dragon realm, but his expression was still uncertain. He said in a deep voice, "I'm going to the Chi Dragon realm now. If you continue to fool me, you will suffer the wrath of the dragons." Then, the two dragons took to the sky and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The monkey looked at the backs of the two dragons. His anger still hadn't dissipated. He said indignantly, "Big brother, from the looks of it, those rumors weren't groundless. These dragons are indeed too arrogant. The so-called war between the dragons and the phoenixes was caused by these dragons." Xueqi remained silent. Along the way, the two had heard many rumors. At some point, the dragons that had been hibernating in the dragon realm suddenly began to wage war. They conquered the surrounding realms of various sizes and suppressed other races. After all, the dragon realm was a super large realm. Coupled with the strength of the dragons themselves, there were almost no realms or races that could contend against the dragons' armies. After the dragons conquered a realm, they would consider themselves the rulers and rule over the billions of beings in that realm. Under the constant conquest, the dragon realm's territory rapidly expanded. Under such circumstances, it was inevitable that there would be some conflicts with the Wutong realm. These two were both super large realms. Even though there had been conflicts in the past, both realms were wary of each other. Both realms would try their best to resolve the conflict. But this time, the Wutong realm's stance was also unusually strong. The conflict between the two sides escalated until a realm war finally broke out. Dragons were indeed one of the strongest races due to their powerful bloodline. However, this did not mean that dragons were nobler than other races. Although the human race was naturally weak, they had made up the majority of great emperors since ancient times. The butterfly race was even weaker, but in this era, Daiyu had risen to power and intimidated all races. It was common for dragons to have a sense of superiority, even in Tianhuang mainland. But just now, the two dragons had shown too much hostility towards Su Zimo and his companion, and there was a kind of contempt that came from the bottom of their hearts. Su Zimo did not have much contact with the dragons of the 3,000 worlds. The only ones he had a good relationship with were Hui Dragon King and Long Li. At the very least, he didn't feel any sense of superiority from the two of them. The war between the dragons and the phoenixes was a sensitive period. There might be a reason for the two dragons' behavior. In any case, Su Zimo saw that the two dragons were too hostile and did not directly visit Long Li. Instead, he used Su Zhu's name to visit Long Li. Be it Su Zhu or Long Li, the two true spirits did not dare to be negligent. As expected, not long after, Long Li rushed over from the dragon world. Although he looked tired, Long Li was pleasantly surprised when he saw Su Zimo. Before he came close, he waved his arm and shouted with a smile, "Big brother Su Zhu." Su Zimo also smiled and nodded, cupping his hands. "I hope Taoist Long Li won't take offense at my sudden visit. Big brother Su Zhu, you don't have to be so polite with me. I'll only be happy that you came to see me. Why would I take offense?" Long Li said, "As long as you're willing to come, I'll welcome you at any time." "This is?" Long Li turned to Monkey. Su Zimo said, "He's my sworn brother. His surname is Yuan." "Hello, big brother Yuan." Long Li called out and cupped his hands slightly, showing that he was very courteous. "Caw caw." Monkey grinned when he heard that. "You're good too. You're pleasing to the eye and better at talking than the two little dragons earlier on." Monkey was still brooding about what happened earlier on. As though he heard something, Long Li frowned and asked, "Did Long Gui and Long Li make things difficult for you guys earlier on?" "It's not that difficult," Su Zimo waved it off nonchalantly. "It's just that they're hostile. It's understandable in the midst of a battle." Long Li had a complicated expression when he heard that and sighed gently. "Big brother Su, you guys should have heard some rumors about the Battle of the Dragon and Phoenix when you came, right?" Su Zimo looked at Long Li's expression and asked in a deep voice, "Are those rumors true?" Long Li pursed his lips and nodded. Su Zimo was puzzled and asked with a frown, "Why do the dragons want to start wars and conquer other worlds? In fact, they even want to rule over and enslave other races?" For several eras, the dragons had not done something as such. Long Li said, "The dragons have always been in hibernation in the dragon world. Typically, they would not stir up trouble nor would any world dare to provoke them. However, thousands of years ago, a concept gradually emerged in the dragon world, and it became widespread. Among the myriad of living beings, the dragon race should be supreme, and the other races should be slaves. If they refuse to submit, they'll be killed." Su Zimo's heart sank when he heard that. From the looks of it, the reason why the true dragon called Long Gui was so hostile towards them was not because of the Battle of the Dragon and Phoenix, but because of this. Su Zimo asked, "No one among the dragons stopped such a crazy idea?" At first, there were naturally some dragons who objected. Long Li shook his head and said, "However, these voices were gradually suppressed and this concept was indeed acknowledged by many dragons. Later on, there were no other voices." "Who suppressed it?" Su Zimo asked immediately. Long Li seemed to be wary as he looked around and pursed his lips without saying anything. Monkey sneered and said, No wonder no world races are willing to help you dragons and even switch sides. Longli did not say anything in the face of Monkey's mockery and merely smiled bitterly. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and asked, "You'll probably cause some trouble for meeting us this time, right?" Longli hesitated for a moment and said, "It's naturally unavoidable to attract some criticism. However, I'm the only supreme true spirit of the dragon world after all. Ordinary dragons won't dare to provoke me. Don't worry, Brother Su. With me leading the way, no one in the dragon world will dare to make things difficult for you guys." Long Li's confidence was not only because she was a supreme true spirit. The Chi Dragon King was behind her as well. The Chi Dragon King was one of the 5 dragon kings of the dragon world and guarded the Chi Dragon region. Be it in terms of status or combat strength, he was at the peak. "Brother Su, the reason why you're here is to take a look at Long Ran, right?" Long Li was extremely intelligent and quickly sensed Su Zimo's intentions. Yes. Su Zimo did not hide anything and nodded. "If possible, I'd like to take him away." During his conversation with Long Li earlier on, Su Zimo felt a hint of uneasiness. The situation of the Battle of the Dragon and Phoenix was far more complicated than he had imagined. There were dangers in the dragon world as well. In fact, there was an indescribable sense of strangeness. End of chapter. Chapter 3045. The coiling dragon formation that protected the dragon world was formed by the 5 dragon regions. Each dragon region guarded an area and was extremely important. Each dragon region had a massive planet and 10 ancient cities built in the starry sky. For example, the Torch Dragon domain was formed by Planet Torch Dragon and 10 dragon cities. Be it Planet Torch Dragon or the 10 dragon cities, they were the core of the coiling dragon formation. Their positions were special and extremely crucial. Long Ran was in Beacon City, one of the 10 dragon cities in the Torch Dragon domain. Su Zimo and Monkey followed Long Li to the Torch Dragon domain. Along the way, they listened to Long Li talk about Long Ran. Can this coiling dragon formation defend against Imperial Lords? Monkey was curious. It can't. Long Li shook his head slightly. However, if an Imperial Lord expert appears outside the dragon world and attacks the coiling dragon formation, the Imperial Lords of the Dragons will sense it and appear immediately. Furthermore, ever since the previous War of the Emperors, both sides suffered heavy losses. The Imperial Lords are wary of each other and rarely attack. After pausing for a moment, Long Li said, "Brother Su, don't worry. Although the army of the Wutong world is aggressive, it's still extremely difficult for them to break through the coiling dragon formation. Long Ran won't be in any danger in Beacon City." With Long Li leading the way, the 3 of them were unobstructed in the Torch Dragon domain. Along the way, they encountered some other dragons that did attract some strange gazes mixed with hostility. However, those dragons recognized Long Li's identity and did not say anything. About half a day later, the 3 of them arrived at Beacon City. From afar, Beacon City looked like a massive object standing in the starry sky. Although it was only a city, its size and area were not inferior to the 4 great immortal kingdoms of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain. When they got close, they could clearly see the huge scarlet rocks piled up on the city walls of Beacon City. There were some traces of swords and flames on them. Long Li should have come to look for Long Ran a few times and was familiar with the place. He led Su Zimo and Monkey towards Long Ran's cave abode. Walking on the streets of Beacon City, Su Zimo spread out his divine sense to investigate. Each of the 4 great celestial kingdoms in the Divine Firmament Celestial Realm had a population of several billion. In this city of dragons, which was comparable to the 4 great immortal kingdoms, there were only tens of thousands of dragons in the southern region of the city. Based on this calculation, there were only a few 100,000 dragons in the entire Beacon City. The scarcity of dragons was evident from this. Under such circumstances, they really couldn't afford the consumption of a realm war. Just as Su Zimo was pondering, his heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have sensed something and looked at a team of dragons passing by not far away. The leader of this group was a tall man with a head full of red hair. His face was rough, and his eyes were like torches. He was patrolling the area. When he saw that person, Su Zimo stopped in his tracks instinctively and smiled. The red-haired man seemed to have sensed something and turned his head to look. Their eyes met. The red-haired man froze on the spot. At first, the red-haired man's face was still a little blank. For a moment, he didn't dare to believe it. But soon, A look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Zimo! The red-haired man shouted and could not help but burst into laughter. Red-headed ghost! Su Zimo replied with a smile as well. The red-haired man was none other than the red-headed ghost, Long Ran. Long Ran rushed over in huge strides and hugged Su Zimo without caring about the gazes of others. His face was filled with excitement as he laughed non-stop. Good lad, you've finally... Pest! Long Ran hammered Su Zimo's chest heavily. However, his expression changed as he gasped and his mouth twitched in pain. Cough, cough. You're finally willing to look for me. Long Ran coughed gently and retracted his red and swollen palm without a trace, saying as though nothing had happened, I heard that you're really mighty outside. You're the #1 true spirit in history. Before Su Zimo could say anything, Longli suddenly interrupted from the side and looked at Long Ran with a frown. What did you call him? Zimo? Long Ran was very smart. He rolled his eyes and instantly reacted. However, he was excited to reunite with Su Zimo and did not think too much about it. When he heard Long Li's question, he laughed and said, well, his surname is Su and his name is Zhu. His name is Zimo. That made sense. However, Long Li was not that easy to fool. He looked at Su Zimo doubtfully with a hint of suspicion in his eyes. My name is indeed Su Zimo. Su Zimo did not continue hiding and explained. Back then, I was hunted down in the heaven realm and had no choice but to change my name to Su Zhu to cultivate in the sword world. That was not a secret to begin with. After entering the grotto heaven realm, there was even less need for Su Zimo to hide. Moreover, Long Li trusted him very much. If he continued to be secretive, he would not be honest enough. Long Li was not angered because of that. However, he still clenched his fists and pretended to threaten. You've already lied to me twice. If I find out that there's a next time... Humph. Su Zimo smiled and looked at Long Ran. Sweeping with his spirit consciousness, he chuckled. Red-headed ghost, your cultivation speed has lagged. You've only just entered the true self realm. The two of them had always been like that. They often bickered at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley, and it was nothing much for them to make fun of each other. If they were in Tianhuang mainland, Long Ran would have retaliated long ago. Now that he heard Su Zimo's words, Long Ran seemed to be touched and gradually retracted his smile. Indeed, I can't compare to others after ascending. All these years, if not for little sister Long Li's help, I would still be at the Divine Essence realm. Let's go to my cave abode and have a chat. Let's drink a few jars of good wine. Long Ran conversed with the dragons behind him before waving his hand and leaving with Su Zimo and the other two. Commander Long Ran actually knows those two foreign races and has a good relationship with them? Hee. He's someone who ascended from the lower world after all. He befriends anyone. There are many clansmen with higher cultivation backgrounds than him in Beacon City. I wonder what the city lord sees in him. Not long after Long Ran left, some of the dragons in the group began discussing. Even Long Ran could hear them, let alone Su Zimo and Monkey. However, his expression was normal, as though he did not hear anything. It was only after he brought the three of them back to his cave abode that Long Ran sighed softly. When I first ascended, the dragon world was not like this. The dragons did not look down on their clansmen who ascended from the lower world either. Although the dragons at that time thought highly of themselves, they did not have any inexplicable hostility towards foreign races, nor did they want to kill them. However, all these years, Su Zimo said in a low voice, I'm here this time round because I want to take you away. Initially, he only had an idea. Now that he was in the dragon world and saw the situation around him, he was even more certain of this idea. All these years, Long Ran was extremely disappointed in the dragons and did not have much attachment to the dragon world. However, he was still hesitant to leave with a great battle ahead of them. Since we have the chance to leave, let's go. Long Li sighed as well. If this continues, no one knows how long the dragon world can last. Is there no possibility of stopping the battle? Long Ran asked. Long Li shook his head and smiled bitterly. Both sides have lost emperors and are already at war. Who has the face and ability to stop a battle that involves hundreds of realms? Unless an emperor descends, or perhaps Emperor Araki Takashi of the Great Wilderness appears. What the hell? Long Ran's ears perked up. He looked at Su Zimo and then at Long Li and asked with widened eyes, Araki Takashi? Chapter 3046. The dragons had always been in a state of war. Now that they had retreated to the dragon world, news was cut off. Apart from the emperors of the dragon world, even some dragon kings had only vaguely heard some rumors about the Battle of the Grand Wilderness, let alone Long Ran, a dragon who had just entered the True Self realm. Long Li had also heard about this from the Hui Dragon King. Long Li did not know what Long Ran was thinking and thought that he was curious about Emperor Araki Takashi, so he explained simply. It said that Emperor Araki Takashi is known as the #1 person below the emperors. He suppressed more than 100 emperors single-handedly and was invincible. Long Ran's eyes widened and his gaze drifted towards Suzimo. Suzimo was expressionless and merely nodded gently. Others might not know Araki Takashi, but Long Ran knew that Suzimo's true identity as Wu Dao was Araki Takashi. However, he was not sure if that Emperor Araki Takashi was the same person as the one he knew. Long Ran was only certain when he saw Suzimo's slight movement. Even the celestial tribute world was defeated in front of him and had to return in defeat. A wisp of admiration flashed in Long Li's eyes, and he said, "Unfortunately, not to mention me, even the imperial monarchs of the dragon dimension don't have the fate to become friends with a figure like Martial Monarch Huang." Ha 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 ha. Of course, Long Ran would not casually reveal this matter, but he could not help but laugh out loud. "What are you laughing at?" Long Li furrowed his brows as he looked at Long Ran, who was laughing incessantly. He simply could not understand what was so funny about this matter. The monkey also knew the details and winked at Long Ran. Long Ran waved his hand and patted his chest. "I know Araki Takashi." "Huh. You know Emperor Araki Takashi?" Long Li looked at Long Ran with a puzzled expression. He didn't understand what was wrong with him. "Of course," Long Ran said seriously. "We've known each other for many years and are very familiar with each other. There's no need to talk about our relationship." This was indeed the truth. Long Li gazed at Long Ran's serious expression, and he restrained himself for a long time before bursting into laughter in the end. He rolled his eyes at Long Ran and said, "How do you know Imperial Monarch Araki Takashi? Stop boasting." "Ha ha." Long Ran also laughed loudly and said, "You little girl, I told you the truth but you didn't believe me. As if I'd believe you." Long Li pursed her lips and said, "You've been staying in the dragon world ever since you ascended. How would you know Emperor Araki Takashi?" "Araki Takashi, that kid." Long Ran had just opened his mouth when Long Li frowned and glared at him angrily. Long Ran coughed softly and changed his words. "Araki Takashi also ascended from the lower world. We're all in the same realm. I even taught him many Dao techniques back then." "Tch." Long Li rolled her eyes and said, "The more you talk, the more ridiculous you become. You taught Emperor Araki Takashi Dao techniques? He's now the #1 person below the emperor. You're just a little true dragon now." Long Ran's face twitched and he said with a dark expression, "You little girl, how can you say that? You're hurting me." Long Li said, "I heard from Mother that Emperor Araki Takashi was so furious and started a massacre because over 100 emperors joined forces to bully his Dao partner. Even during the battle, Emperor Araki Takashi held his Dao partner's hand and protected her by his side." Hearing this, Long Ran's heart skipped a beat and he said, "Araki Takashi's Dao partner is a blood-robed woman, right?" Long Li looked at Long Ran in surprise. Then she asked with a faint smile, "Why? Are you familiar with the Blood Butterfly Demon Emperor?" "Familiar? Not to that extent." Long Ran was still a little afraid of Dai Yu and did not dare to joke casually. He said honestly, "We've met once." Long Li naturally did not believe him. The Blood Butterfly Demon Emperor was a living being from the upper world. Long Ran had ascended from the lower world and had never left the dragon world. How could he have met the Blood Butterfly Demon Emperor? Of course, Long Li did not point this out. She only thought that Long Ran was talking nonsense because he was excited to reunite with an old friend. She would not take it seriously. Long Li smiled. "I was just saying casually. Even if Emperor Araki Takashi really comes, I'm afraid he won't be able to suppress the experts of hundreds of realms. Don't try to make connections with others." The four of them were together. Although they were of different races, there was no barrier between them. They chatted happily and drank until dawn. Under Suzimo's persuasion, Long Ran agreed to leave the dragon world. A true dragon like him could not affect the situation in a war between a super major world. There was no difference whether he was there or not. However, after ascending, he had been cultivating in the dragon world. Although some dragons looked down on him, he made some friends. He was still reluctant to leave the dragon world and these friends of the dragons. The city lord of Beacon City treated him well. Otherwise, he would not have let him, a true dragon who had just stepped into the true self realm, be the leader of a region. Over the next few days, Long Ran brought Xueqi and the other two to wander around Beacon City. He told them about some of the interesting things that had happened after he ascended. Since he had already decided to leave, there was no need to rush. Xueqi knew that Long Ran was a person who valued friendship. He was using this method to bid farewell to the Dragon World and Dragon City. 10 days later, the four of them went to the city lord's residence to bid farewell to the city lord of Beacon City, Long Feng. The city lord of Beacon City, a peak king, guarding Dragon City all year round. This city lord clearly exuded an iron-blooded murderous aura. He was imposing without being angry and did not look easy to get along with. However, the city lord of Beacon City did not make things difficult for Long Ran. He only felt that it was a pity. There was no enmity on the city lord's face towards Xueqi and the monkey. We're in the middle of a war now. The Wutong world has not made any moves and is unable to break into the dragon world. This place is still considered safe. Long Feng said, but if you leave the dragon world and lose the protection of the coiling dragon formation, you'll have to be careful. Long Feng reminded him before he looked at Long Ran and said, stay and eat something. Consider it a farewell dinner. The fact that you were able to ascend from the lower world proves that your talent is not bad. You just lack a bit of opportunity and luck. How far you can cultivate in the future will depend on your luck. As he spoke, Long Feng took out a storage bag and handed it to Long Ran. There are some things in there that I can't use. I'll give them to you. Long Ran was touched. He received it with both hands and bowed in thanks. The four of them stayed in the city lord's residence and ate some immortal peaches and spirit fruits before preparing to leave. Just as they reached the entrance of the hall, Xueqi suddenly paused. He seemed to have sensed something and frowned as he looked at the end of the starry sky. What's wrong? Long Ran asked. The monkey tilted his head. Under the long fur on both sides of his face, a second pair of ears quietly appeared and moved slightly. Thereafter, he stared at his feet with a bewildered expression. Right then, Long Feng raised his head suddenly and his expression changed starkly. 2 streaks of flames burst forth from his eyes as he roared. Enemy attack! That dragon roar pierced through metal and stone and pierced into the clouds, breaking the peace of Beacon City instantly. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 3047. Hurry up and leave. Go to the teleportation formation and head straight to Planet Torch Dragon. Long Feng could not be bothered with Xueqi and the rest. He took out a message talisman from his storage bag and tore it apart. Then, he soared into the sky without looking back, transforming into a gigantic dragon that was thousands of feet long and hovering above Beacon City. Flames were already burning on Long Feng's body. The flames illuminated the starry sky and awakened countless dragons in Beacon City. Dozens of cracks appeared in the starry sky above Beacon City, and figures with powerful auras walked out. They were all Grotto Heaven kings. Among them, 4 were even pinnacle kings. Following closely behind these kings, huge spirit boats and ships appeared. One could clearly see the countless figures standing on them. The experts on these spirit boats were led by the true spirits. The rest were mostly at the Earth and Heaven essence realms. After the battle broke out, the Grotto Heaven kings would fight in the starry sky. The true spirits on these spirit boats would take the opportunity to kill their way into Beacon City. Impossible. Long Li's face turned pale when he saw this scene. He muttered softly, with the coiling dragon formation, how could so many people kill their way here silently? Could there be a problem with the coiling dragon formation? Long Feng. In the starry sky, the leader was a pinnacle king in black robes. His face was abnormally pale, and his lips were purple. He shouted, "Today is the day you die. You think you can take down Beacon City with just a dozen kings? You're too naive." Long Feng was not afraid at all. He faced the dozen kings alone in the starry sky and was not at a disadvantage. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound came from the east of Beacon City. It caused the entire ancient city to shake as though the foundation of Beacon City was shaken. Not good. Long Li seemed to have realized something and exclaimed, "That's the location of the teleportation formation." Planet Torch Dragon was connected to the 10 dragon cities by teleportation formations. Even if there was a problem in one of the cities, they could use the teleportation formation to quickly move the dragons. But now, before Beacon City was taken, there was a problem with the teleportation formation. How could this be? Long Rant's expression was solemn as he said in a low voice, "Beacon City hasn't been breached yet. How could the teleportation array within the city have been destroyed?" Now the enemy's army was still confronting Long Feng outside the city, but the teleportation portal in the city had been destroyed. It was done by experts from the Tomb Realm. Su Zimo said slowly. No wonder. Monkey had a look of realization as he said, "I heard some strange sounds coming from beneath Beacon City." The experts of the Necropolis realm dug their way through Beacon City and destroyed the teleportation portal. Su Zimo spread out his consciousness and sensed that the Tomb Realm expert who had emerged from the teleportation portal was also a heavenly cavern monarch. The great army in the starry sky was clearly led by experts from the Tomb Realm. Among the 4 Peak Kings, 3 of them were Tomb Realm Kings. As for the rest of the Grotto Heaven Kings, other than a few from the Tomb Realm, there were also some from mid-level and low-level realms. Long Feng, who was in mid-air, sensed that the teleportation portal had been destroyed. His heart sank, and the fury in his eyes burned even brighter. It was obvious that the other party had come prepared. Furthermore, they were going to kill all the dragons in Beacon City. Today, Beacon City will not be spared. The leading Peak King waved his hand with a murderous aura. "Corpse Yuan, how dare you!" Long Feng roared and waved his massive dragon body, bringing with it wind and flames. His aura was torrential as he charged toward the dozen or so Grotto Heaven Kings. Go! The 3 Peak Kings of the Tomb Realm naturally did not dare to engage in melee combat. Instead, they took out 3 gigantic coffins from their storage bags, opened the lids, and released the battle corpses they had refined. Roar! 2 battle corpses covered in long white hair bared their fangs at Long Feng with bulging bloodshot eyes and 2 pairs of sharp fangs. The 3rd coffin was more than 10,000 feet long. After the lid was opened, a gigantic dragon corpse crawled out. Its dragon scales were covered in a green glow, and it emitted a foul stench. A fishy wind surrounded it as it roared at Long Feng. When he saw that, Long Feng's heart was filled with grief as he said hatefully, "You bunch of beasts of the Tomb Realm. How dare you refine dragons into battle corpses? All of you deserve to go to hell." Boom! Long Feng and the dragon corpse collided with each other, and a loud bang erupted. Tomb Realm cultivators were humans and most of them had weak physiques and ordinary bloodlines. They could not fight against dragons head-on. However, through the secret skills of the Tomb Realm, they could refine the corpses of living beings of the 10,000 races and control battle corpses to aid them in battle. For those of the Tomb Realm, their combat strength would increase multiple times after obtaining a superior corpse. For example, the corpse Yuan King would not be a match for Long Feng in melee combat. However, with this dragon corpse, he could fight against Long Feng in melee combat without being disadvantaged. Su Zimo frowned and asked, "There's only one Dragon King in Beacon City?" Long Li replied, "Under normal circumstances, a single Dragon King is enough. If anything happens, he'll send a message back immediately. When the Illumination Dragon Star receives the news, kings will definitely send reinforcements." Long Feng had indeed torn apart a message talisman when he sensed the arrival of a strong enemy. Su Zimo said, "Kings can tear through the void and arrive here from the Illumination Dragon Star. It's about time." Long Li observed the cosmos outside continuously with clenched fists and a nervous expression. However, the distant cosmos was calm. Long Li had a worried expression and said with a trembling voice, "Could something have happened to the Illumination Dragon Star as well? Without the Dragon King's reinforcements, the City Lord might not be able to win." Long Li did not dare to think further. If Long Feng was defeated and died, the hundreds of thousands of dragons in Beacon City would be buried here. Nobody would be spared, including her. The Tomb Realm King at the teleportation formation had already led the true spirits and heavenly essence cultivators on the spirit vessel into Beacon City and sped towards the City Lord's residence. Long Feng could not break free from the battlefield in midair. Notwithstanding the fact that he could not save the hundreds of thousands of dragons in Beacon City, even he was in a precarious situation and could not protect himself. "Brother Su, leave with Long Ran. Hurry and escape." Although Long Li was a supreme true spirit, she was too young after all. She lost her composure and her mind was in a mess after encountering such a sudden turn of events. She merely thought that Su Zimo and the others should not be implicated in this battle. As for herself, she was a supreme true spirit of dragons after all. No matter what, she could not escape or retreat. Even if she was facing thousands of true spirit experts and a Grotto Heaven King of the Tomb Realm. It was clear that the Tomb Realm King had already sensed them and was charging over with an army. The appearance of the terrifying battle corpse at the front was getting clearer and more menacing. Longli grit her teeth and took out the dragon's horn from her storage bag with a resolute gaze. However, against such a ferocious corpse king and the true spirit army that was surging over like a tidal wave, she still felt a sense of fear. She was not afraid of death. However, she was afraid that after she died, she would be refined into an ugly and menacing battle corpse by the Tomb Realm cultivators like the King of Dragons. At this moment, a broad and warm palm landed on her slightly trembling shoulder. End of chapter. Chapter 30-48. Instinctively, Longli turned around and met with two calm gazes. For some reason, those two gazes seemed to be able to pierce the depths of her heart, calming her restless mind and dispelling her fear. This was an extremely profound visual technique of the Buddhist monasteries that could calm one's mind. Su Zimo cultivated a forbidden secret manual of the Buddhist monasteries and even formed a grotto heaven of the Buddhist monasteries. His Buddhist dharma was profound and even surpassed that of an eminent monk who specialized in Buddhist dharmic formulations. Don't panic, Su Zimo pressed down on Longli's shoulder and said in a deep voice. You should stand out now and gather all the dragons in Beacon City to prepare for battle. Right now, Long Feng was entangled with more than 10 grotto heavens and could not break free. In Beacon City, only Longli had that prestige. More importantly, if they could not gather the dragons, they would definitely be defeated by the thousands of true spirit experts and the army behind them. Only by gathering the dragon tribe together could they protect more dragon tribe members and even unleash a powerful counterattack. Of course, Su Zimo could make a move. However, he was alone after all and could not take care of all the dragons in Beacon City. But, although Longli's mind had calmed down, she still felt a deep sense of despair towards the fate of Beacon City in this battle. Even if all the true dragons in Beacon City were gathered together, there would only be slightly more than 100 of them. The number of true spirit experts on the other side was in the tens of thousands. The difference was too great. No matter how strong the dragon's physique and bloodline were, they could not defend against the attacks of thousands of living beings. Furthermore, there was a peerless king of the Tomb Realm on the battlefield of Beacon City. The battle corpse at the front alone was enough to flatten every corner of Beacon City and destroy everything. More importantly, the city lord of Dragon Beacon City was surrounded by more than 10 kings in the battlefield of kings in the starry skies and was at a complete disadvantage. He could not even protect himself. Once Long Feng was defeated, what was the point of gathering all the dragons even if she could? Don't think too much. Go and gather the dragons. Su Zimo seemed to have seen through the many thoughts in Longli's mind, but he didn't explain much. He only said indifferently, as for the rest, leave it to me. Su Zimo sighed in his heart. He really didn't want to be involved in the war between the dragons and the phoenixes. No matter what the cause of this battle was, it had nothing to do with him. Even now, with his methods and the Tai Yin Yang escape, he could take Long Ran away at any time. However, Beacon City was about to be destroyed. Long Ran had lived here for many years. If he just turned around and left like this, it would be too heartless to Long Ran. Moreover, Hui Dragon King and Longli had both helped him in the Celestial Tribute Domain. He and Longli knew each other even earlier. Previously, the fortunate encounters and treasures he had obtained on the Dragon Abyss planet had also come from Longli's father. With all sorts of reasons intertwined, there was no way he could stay out of this and leave. Su Zimo soared into the air and headed towards the peerless king of the Tomb Realm who was rampaging through Beacon City. After taking a few steps, he suddenly paused and glanced sideways. Don't forget that you're a supreme true spirit. You don't have to fear no matter how many true spirit experts you face. Furthermore, Monkey can help you as well. Monkey grinned without any hint of nervousness on his face. Instead, there was excitement in his eyes that shone with a scarlet light. He tilted his head and a thin needle fell out of his ear. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a pitch-black rod. The rod was filled with cracks and shone with a faint golden light. Monkey rested the rod on his shoulder and looked at the approaching army of 10 million true spirit experts and true spirit experts. Instinctively, he licked his lips in anticipation. Ha ha! The eyes of the leader of the Tomb Realm True Spirit lit up when he caught sight of Long Li as he roared in laughter. My luck is pretty good. I've just become a supreme True Spirit and I've met a suitable opponent here. Little sister Long Li, I'll let you play with my 2 corpses today. Boom. Before he finished his sentence, Han Chong took out 2 coffins from his storage bag and slammed them heavily on the ground, causing their lids to fall off. Roar! 2 battle corpses that shone with a metallic luster leaped out of the coffins. Surrounded by corpse chi, the stench of blood filled the air as they roared loudly. Their long, sharp fingernails shone with a greenish-black glow. Supreme True Spirits. Long Li's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. In the True Spirit battlefield, the only advantage the dragons had was her. However, the other party had a Supreme True Spirit as well. If she was held back by Han Chong, how could the remaining 100-odd true dragons defend against the slaughter of the True Spirit army? At this moment, Long Li glanced over from the corner of his eye, and saw that a figure had already rushed out. Monkey carried his long staff and charged towards Han Chong without any fear in the face of the thousands of soldiers and horses that were charging towards him. Brother Yuan, don't go. Long Li's expression changed as she exclaimed. The other party was a Supreme True Spirit with terrifying combat strength and was not someone other True Spirit experts could take head-on. As for the Supreme True Spirits of the Tomb Realm, they were even more troublesome. Even Long Li did not dare to say that he could win against Han Chong. If both parties were to release supreme divine powers to fight, the experts of the Tomb Realm could still control the battle corpses to attack. However, they would be severely injured if they were careless. Han Chong could refine 2 battle corpses and was even more troublesome to deal with if he was stronger. However, Monkey was way too fast. The moment Long Li shouted, he was only a step away from the 2 battle corpses at the front. Long Li did not have time to think and chased after him hurriedly. However, she was still a step too late. Monkey and the battle corpses had already made contact and a huge battle broke out. Boom! One of the battle corpses roared and pounced towards the monkey without any fear of death. The terrifying thing about battle corpses was not only the corpse chi and poison on their bodies. Most importantly, they could not feel any pain or fear. Moreover, the strength of their physical bodies was not inferior to that of divine weapons. Even if they were beaten to a pulp with broken tendons and bones, they still possessed immense combat strength. Boom! Monkey did not care too much and swung his rod, smashing down on the head. With a single strike, the battle corpse in front of him was smashed into pieces and blood mist filled the air. Han Chong was shocked and his pupils constricted. His battle corpse had been refined for many years and was extremely strong. Even a pure young spirit treasure might not be able to injure its foundation. To think that the battle corpse would be crippled by a single strike from this shrewd monkey that appeared out of nowhere. There was naturally no way the battle corpse could continue fighting after being beaten to such a state with its head smashed into mush. Brother Yuan, be careful of the corpse blood. Long Li was shocked by what happened as well. However, she snapped out of it quickly and reminded him loudly. The battle corpses of the Tomb Realm were filled with poison. Even after being crippled, the blood mist that filled the air still possessed terrifying lethality. Humph! Han Chong looked at Monkey that was shrouded in corpse blood and sneered. You'll have to pay with your life for destroying my battle corpse. Monkey crushed the battle corpse in front of him with a single strike and passed through the blood mist without thinking too much. When he heard Han Chong's words, Monkey raised his brow and channeled his bloodline, releasing a rumbling sound as though an extremely ancient power was awakening. In the face of that power, even Long Li who had just charged over felt her heart skip a beat, let alone Han Chong who had an ordinary bloodline. Monkey merely shuddered and the blood mist of the battle corpse that stained his body turned into countless blood droplets that splattered on the ground. It had no effect on him at all. You want to hurt me with that sort of poison blood? Monkey glared at Han Chong who was not far away and grinned. Chapter 3049. Han Chong's heart skipped a beat and his expression turned grim. If the battle corpse's poison blood could not injure the immoral monkey, that would be troublesome. There was no way he could defend against the terrifying bloodline revealed by the immoral monkey, and the terrifying power released by the rod earlier on if the latter closed in on him. Initially, he was prepared to use his supreme divine powers together with the battle corpse's offensive methods for Long Li. But now, it seemed like he could only use it in advance. Space-time lock. Han Chong channeled his essence spirit and conjured hand seals with both hands, waving them in midair. An extremely strange power burst forth from his fingertips and enveloped Monkey. Instantly, Monkey froze on the spot and could not move at all. Not to mention his body. Even the expression on his face remained the same as before. At that moment, the two powerful powers of time and space formed invisible shackles on Monkey's body. At the same time, Han Chong controlled the battle corpse to charge towards Monkey with his spirit consciousness. In his eyes, Monkey was like a fish on the chopping block in such a state that could be slaughtered at will. When Long Li saw that the situation was amiss, she hurriedly channeled her essence spirit and prepared to release the rainbow divine light to rescue Monkey from the space-time lock. However, there was still a distance between the two of them. Even if she wanted to cast a technique right now, it would be too late. Long Li was anxious. All of a sudden, the eyes of the monkey, who had been frozen in place, darted around. Boom! The next moment, a deafening sound echoed from Monkey's body and a gigantic phantom condensed behind him, rising from the ground with torrential battle intent. The battle soul was 1,000 feet tall and it was almost as tall as the city walls when it stood in Beacon City. After releasing the third stance of the battle catalog, Battle Universe, Monkey broke free from the shackles of the space-time lock instantly and his combat strength increased exponentially. The battle corpse had just arrived and was about to face Monkey who had broken free. Bang! Monkey swung his rod in reverse and smashed the head of the battle corpse into pieces. Its body was snapped at the waist as well. If it was just the secret skill of the Battle Universe, it might not have been able to release enough power to break through the shackles of the space-time lock. However, within the monkey's body was the combination of the 4 bloodlines of the ape and monkey clan. Together with the secret arts of the Dozhan Yu, this level of improvement had already surpassed the power of a supreme divine ability. The cultivators of the tomb realm were often surrounded by corpses, so their faces were all pale. Seeing this scene, Han Chong was even more frightened. Without the protection of the battle corpse and the supreme ability, Han Chong was now a Dongshu true spirit with an ordinary bloodline. Within Feng City, any Dongshu stage true dragon would be able to kill him. Han Chong turned around and fled without a second thought. Behind him, there was an army of 10 million. As long as he could escape and join the army, this monkey would definitely not be able to stop them. Ga. Monkey laughed strangely and caught up to Han Chong with a single step. The long-armed blood ape was said to be able to control the sun and moon and shrink 1,000 mountains. Taking the sun and moon was referring to the long-armed sanguine ape. It was so powerful that it could even pluck the sun, moon, and stars and play with them. Shrinking 1,000 mountains referred to the speed of the long-armed blood ape. One step was a distance of 1,000 mountains. Poof! The moment Han Chong turned around, Monkey had already arrived behind him. Without a second word, Monkey swung his rod and smashed down. Exclamation point! A flash of blood appeared. If even the 2 battle corpses refined by Han Chong could not defend against Monkey's combat imperial weapon, his body of flesh and blood was even more pathetic. With a single strike, Han Chong was smashed into a pile of blood and his essence spirit was destroyed along with his body and Dao. Although the entire process seemed slow, it happened in the blink of an eye. Long Li stood rooted to the spot with a dumbfounded expression. Before he could conjure the supreme ability of the rainbow divine light, in just 3 strikes, a supreme true spirit was beaten to death. There were no supreme abilities or advanced battle techniques. Monkey merely charged up and swung his rod 3 times in a row to kill Han Chong. Indeed, anyone who can become sworn siblings with Brother Su is a monster. Long Li calmed himself down and lamented internally. In midair, when the peerless king of the tomb realm caught sight of that, his expression turned extremely terrible as he glared at Su Zimo, who was approaching him with a chilling killing intent. After killing the ordinary king of the human race, he headed down to kill the wild monkey. The bloodline of the monkey's physique was definitely that of a superior class battle corpse. Roar! The king-level battle corpse roared towards Su Zimo and turned into a streak of light, lunging over at an astonishing speed. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged and he did not even pause in his footsteps. Just as the battle corpse was about to pounce on him, his figure flickered and he disappeared from where he stood. The next moment, Su Zimo had already arrived before the peerless king of the tomb realm. After entering the grotto heaven, he could release the 9 true dragon flash even more smoothly and at a faster speed. It was comparable to teleportation. The battle corpses of tomb realm cultivators were invulnerable to weapons, fire and water. Furthermore, they were surrounded by corpse chi and poisoned. They did not fear death and almost had no weaknesses. The greatest weakness of tomb realm cultivators was their true bodies. In a flash, Su Zimo circled around the charge of the battle corpse and arrived before the peerless king of the Tomb Realm. However, the moment he appeared, he felt his vision go dark. The peerless king of the Tomb Realm reacted even faster and was already prepared before Su Zimo appeared. Even against an ordinary king like Su Zimo, he did not dare to underestimate or be careless. Everyone else knew about the weakness of Tomb Realm cultivators, but he knew it even better. The only chance for an ordinary king to win against him was to charge straight at his true body. However, the peerless king of the Tomb Realm had long known that dragons had a secret skill that could almost teleport in battle and was prepared for it. After Su Zimo vanished, the peerless king of the Tomb Realm summoned an ancient bronze coffin with a thought and used it to block in front of him. Anyone who could cultivate to greater mastery of the Grotto Heaven realm was naturally not easy to deal with. The moment Su Zimo descended, he was trapped in a coffin. That was the flaw of the true Dragon 9 Flash. Once the landing point of the teleportation was determined, he would lose the initiative. Of course, that was only if the combat strength of both parties was similar. Ha! The peerless king of the Tomb Realm burst into laughter with a smug expression. The coffins used to store battle corpses were usually their destiny spirit treasures as well. While nourishing the battle corpses, the corpse chi and poison on the battle corpses would nourish the coffin as well. If any other living being was devoured by his battle corpse coffin, even a Grotto Heaven king would turn into a pool of blood in less than 3 days. Shing! Before the peerless king of the Tomb Realm could stop laughing, he heard an ear-piercing sound in front of him, as though a sharp weapon had sliced through the ancient bronze coffin. Immediately after, he could not help but be shocked when he caught sight of something else. He saw that the back of the ancient bronze coffin had been slashed open by someone. Inside, there was a flash of green sword light that was extremely sharp. The next moment, the green-robed cultivator broke out of the coffin and a green sword beam surged over, filling the vision of the peerless king of the Tomb Realm. Exclamation point! The sword beam streaked through. The body of the peerless king of the Tomb Realm was sliced into 2 from the top of his head and his essence spirit was destroyed. He died on the spot. With the death of his true body and the support of his Dao technique, the battle corpse he refined froze on the spot and began to convulse and rot. Before long, it would turn into a pool of blood. Chapter 30-50. The fact that Su Zimo killed a peerless king of the Tomb Realm was not enough to intimidate the army of 10 million charging over from Beacon City. After all, the difference in strength between the two sides was too great. In the Battle of the Kings in midair, the Tomb Realm had the absolute advantage. In everyone's opinion, even an additional ordinary king like Su Zimo would not affect the overall situation. However, on the battlefield of Beacon City, even without a supreme true spirit, they still had thousands of true spirits. If they swarmed together, Beacon City that only had slightly more than 100 true dragons would not be able to defend against them. So what if the naughty monkey was strong? So what if the dragons had a supreme true spirit? Could the two of them defend against the charge of an army of 10 million? After killing the peerless king of the Tomb Realm, Su Zimo hesitated for a moment and did not charge into the cosmos to help Long Feng right away. He was still worried about the battlefield in Beacon City. Just as he was hesitating about whether he should make a move to stabilize the battlefield below, Monkey had already collided with the incoming True Spirit army. Su Zimo merely took a few glances before feeling relieved. He turned and rushed into the cosmos, tossing 3 streaks of light into the crowd. Beacon City. Monkey's killing of a supreme True Spirit with 3 rod strikes merely caused the True Spirit army at the front to pause for a moment. However, the other party came prepared and charged over like a torrential current that caused the ground to tremble. Countless divine weapons and numinous treasures tore through the air and covered the skies in a dense cluster. Countless divine powers and secret skills burst forth, forming an unstoppable power that seemed like it wanted to engulf all living beings before it. In the face of such a terrifying killing intent, even Long Li, as a supreme true spirit, felt a trace of fear. Indeed, she knew about supreme divine powers. However, supreme divine powers were not invincible. There was a limit to the power of supreme divine powers as well. In the face of such an attack, not to mention one supreme divine ability, even 2 or 3 of them would be of no use. Even so, Long Li and Long Ran still strode forward and stood beside Monkey. "Brother Yuan, let's go together." Long Li clenched his fists. His eyes were firm and there was a trace of solemnity in them as he said loudly. However, the monkey did not care at all. Hearing that, He waved his hand and said without even turning his head, "Take care of yourselves. Don't worry about me." Before he could finish his words, Monkey leaped out once again. Against such a formation and such a terrifying attack, the monkey was completely fearless. His eyes shone with a bloody light and he did not retreat at all. The battle intent on his body was at its peak. Fight! The monkey let out a loud roar and stepped forward. He channeled his bloodline and a 10,000 feet tall devil ape avatar appeared, fusing with the battle soul from before. The bloodline phenomenon merged with the battle soul. At this moment, the monkey's combat strength reached its peak and even broke through some sort of barrier. Rumble! This 10,000 feet tall devil ape's movements were exactly the same as the monkey's. As it took a step forward, it stomped heavily into the crowd that was charging over. Rumble! With a loud bang, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. With that single stomp, hundreds of cultivators were stomped into meat paste and died on the spot. In fact, the monkey did not even have to look. He closed his eyes and stomped his way forward, causing the opposing army to fall into chaos. Rumble! Boom! Many divine powers and secret skills shrouded the 10,000 feet tall devil ape. 1,000, 100 or even 10,000 divine powers and secret skills could not shake that figure. However, the descent of countless divine powers and secret skills did cause quite a bit of impact on the 10,000 feet tall devil ape phantom. It turned much dimmer and almost transparent, as though it could dissipate at any moment. Countless divine weapons rained down like a rain of arrows. Cling! Clang! Monkey swung his rod and waved it around, destroying countless divine weapons and spirit treasures. However, there were still countless weapons that landed on his body. To the surprise of countless true spirits, there were even sounds of metal clashing when the divine weapons landed on Monkey's body. It was as though the divine weapons were not slashing down on a body of flesh, but a diamond body. Not only that, even against such a ferocious attack, they could not kill Monkey. The 10,000 feet tall devil ape phantom was still around with a frightening aura. Many wounds appeared on the monkey's body and it was dripping with blood. However, his bones were not damaged. He's not even dead? Many true spirit realm experts were shocked. Even the Long Li behind them was dumbfounded. A true spirit battle could be fought this way? Even if the bloodline of dragons was strong, they would not dare to take on the attacks of an army of 10 million in such a manner. This time round, the Long Li composed himself swiftly and released a supreme divine power. 5-colored divine light shot towards the true spirits around Monkey to provide reinforcements. Ka! Ka! Monkey burst into laughter. Not only did the injuries on his body not reduce his fighting spirit, they even stimulated the wildness in his body. He silently chanted an incantation and casually pulled out a handful of blood-stained long hair from the wound. He placed it near his mouth and gently blew on it. Swash! The blood-colored fur floated in midair and danced in all directions. Right in front of everyone, they transformed into hundreds of monkey figures that were identical to him. External movement technique. Even the Empyrean lords of the Blood Ape realm did not cultivate this secret technique. This was a secret technique that Monkey cultivated from an ancient memory that he awakened after fusing with 4 supreme bloodlines. Every single strand of hair on his body could be transformed into a clone through this secret technique. Of course, the combat strength of the clone was far inferior to his main body. Even so, his main body had fused with 4 supreme bloodlines and was already transforming into the Chaos Fiend Ape. Every single clone could still release terrifying lethality. Monkey had 84,000 feathers on his body. If Monkey was angered and created 84,000 clones in a single breath, even a Grotto Heaven King would have to flee. Of course, unless his life was on the line, there was no need for him to do that. Hundreds of Monkey's clones charging into the crowd and killing in all directions was enough to cause the true spirit army to tremble in fear. Some of the true spirits knew how to create clones as well. However, they had never seen something like this before. A single strand of hair from their body could be transformed into hundreds of clones with a single breath. Furthermore, every single one of them was lively and powerful. That was way too frightening. If they were angered by Monkey and he plucked all their hair in a single breath, wouldn't thousands of clones appear? Monkey relied on his external movement technique and rampaged through the crowd unstoppably. Right then, chaos broke out at the back of the opposing army as well. 3 figures went on a killing spree and none of the true spirits could take them head-on as they retreated in defeat. Su Zimo tossed down the 3 pure jade booklet casually and created 3 clones that joined the battlefield. Although they were 3 clones and did not possess any bloodlines, essence spirits or mystic skills, their cultivation realms were the same as Suzumo's. Grotto Heaven Realm clones were almost invincible in the battlefield of Beacon City. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.